All right, all right. Hello, hello. Welcome everyone back to season three. Three. How did we make it like to a third season? This started off with just a fun little idea with Vince and I years ago, and look where we are now. Look at us. Look at us. For attendees, how you doing?
Good, good. I mean, all bear market things considered, good.
Plenty to talk about with that bear. Randy Hilarski, how you doing?
Doing good, man. And having a good life, man. Just enjoying it.
Nice.
Hey,
K4K, haven't had you on in a while.
Yeah, it's
Welcome
been a
to
long
the
time.
season three premiere, man.
Thanks for inviting me. I heard you wanted to talk about PulseX, so can't say no to that.
Well, I noticed a nice little Twitter discussion that you were having with the guy right below. We just asked Jesse, and I thought it'd be cool to actually have it put into words rather than you were saying, trying to fit it into
like trying to type
amount.
out a lot in a Twitter format response. It's like, why not? We could have either make a video or this live thing just to talk some stuff out.
Yeah, so we can definitely, talk about that. And I know we haven't talked PulseX much just because we're kind of like, when PulseChain and all that. And I think Richard had a pretty cool tweet about something. Actually, I almost slipped there because that could be a trivia question answer. But speaking of, we haven't done trivia in a while. And while the audience files in, let's say hello to a lot of people first. Red Squirrel, how you doing? Footsteps, good to see you. Identity Block, what's up? Great stream you had with Lit. I believe that was you. Randy is here, but he's wishing everyone a good afternoon. Your Hexcellence. When Moon, I don't know. Wendy's tends to think a few more months, I guess, maybe. We'll get his opinions on that. Hexacat, what is... What's going on? Cashew, good to see you again. Dan Smith, Benny Blanco, all the regulars are filing in here, and we just got the raid signaled by DJ Nom Nom from DJ Cryptomatic. Shout out to him over on Twitch for doing the pre-show yet again, and there he is. It is official, so we can begin a little trivia here, gents. We'll just go around the room. For those new, I'll just, since we're starting off season 3, we do a live show every week, but we call it season 3 just because of a TV thing. Pretty much this show is pretty much like fun, finance, crypto, mainly the HEX ecosystem, PulseChain, soon to come, PulseX. So if you're watching for the first time, we have a lot of fun here, but you can also learn plenty of stuff because the guests here on this show and many other shows are just outstanding. And some of the discussions are, just super, super stuff that they get tweeted out and, people cite them and, on the socials and look back on them and, just really good, knowledgeable moments, build ourselves informal but informative. And let's do a little of the informal now and get some trivia out of the way. This is easy trivia for the first round. So
I hate when you say that because it gives me anxiety that I'm going to get knocked out in the first round. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
You can't get this wrong.
We haven't done this in a while, but I try. It's my job to try to get you out of the first round. So okay. I'll try to give you guys an easy question, and then we'll go from there. For the first round, usually I ask if you all could delay your answers to let the audience participate. However, first one's, I think, pretty easy. Actually, it's going to be the easiest for the first people who answer. So, Wendy's, you're sitting in the right spot. This past Monday, the Maximus Perpetuals minting phase concluded. Name one of the coins involved in that process, not named Maxi.
Deci.
Deci is an acceptable answer. Randy Hilarski, over to you. Name a coin.
Team.
Team is correct. There's about 3 left. K4K. What one of those be?
We'll go with lucky because lucky is a fun word.
There you go. And just ask Jesse. 2 left.
Maxi, Deci, Team, and base.
There you go.
Correct.
There we go.
There we go. We got it out of the way. All
What was
right.
the other one? What's the other one? I can't think of the other one.
Trio.
Trio. Okay.
Trio. I almost picked Trio because that's my lucky number, but there's also one just called Lucky, so pick that.
Yeah. 1, 3, 7, 10, and team. Wendy's yesterday. All right, this is the phase where we can start maybe taking our time with some answers. I'll even repeat the question, give the audience a chance. Yesterday, Richard Hart retweeted an article asking when HEX could hit what price. Yesterday, Richard Hart retweeted an article asking when HEX could hit what price exactly.
You ready?
We are ready. Chat slow. Let's go.
$1.
$1 is the correct answer.
Is that like a Watcher Guru article?
Yeah, it was.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
All right.
I haven't read that one.
Chat's got it. Chat's got it. All right. Randy Hilarski. And these do get easier or harder, I guess. So they're still kind of easy this round, the second round. Last week, Richard Hart tweeted, "Remember when I called the blank top for you a year and a half ago? You're welcome. What is blank?"
Blank the Bitcoin top.
There you go.
So which day? On the day?
Hey, K4K.
Yeah.
Earlier today, Richard Hart tweeted, "Why do people randomly flip me off in my blank? Jealousy?
Rolls Royce?
Oh, man. He doesn't even...
I waited too short. Should have waited for the class.
It'll be a penalty next time.
Penalty time. My bad, man. I was excited.
It's okay. Just ask Jesse. Last week, Richard Hart tweeted, "Blank will launch when it's ready. Y'all just gonna wait like I am." I'll repeat one more time.
What is PulseChain?
Yeah, you guys don't even let me get it out. All right, yes. Correct answer is PulseChain. So, yes. Reminder to our participants, wait a little bit to let the audience participate. All right.
Too fast.
For attendees, earlier this week, Richard Hart tweeted, "Have a cryptocurrency blank with fiat on-ramps and off-ramps. Do you want to sell it? Sell it? DM me if so."
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Earlier this week, Richard Hart tweeted, "Have a cryptocurrency blank with fiat on-ramps and off-ramps. Do you want to sell it? Sell it? DM me if so. What is blank?" Good job, chat.
Exchange.
Exchange is correct. Randy Hilarski, another question from the social realm. Last week, Richard Hart tweeted, "At blank gets laid more than you while excuse me, let's start that over. At blank gets laid more than you while living in a trailer at a factory. Who is blank?" Last week, Richard Hart tweeted, "At
No
blank."
idea.
Think about it. Think
That's
about
actually
it.
a hilarious question.
I have
Last
no
week,
idea.
Richard Hart tweeted, "At blank gets laid more than you while living in a trailer at a factory.
I don't know. Eric Wall.
Who is?"
Dude, wrecked.
I don't know. That's Eric Wall's my answer.
The correct answer, chat is all over it. Elon.
Oh,
Elon.
okay, yeah.
Elon.
I don't really pay
factory.
attention to those kind of tweets.
Okay, got you. Sorry, Randy, you've been rugged.
Well, that was a
Early
good
elimination. All right. K4K. Last week, Richard Hart tweeted, "Like if you've been shamed for owning a blank phone, what brand or make of phone is blank?" Take your time. Last week, Richard Hart tweeted, "Like if you've been shamed for owning a blank phone, what kind of phone is blank?"
I think I know. Can I guess now?
You can, because chat's all over it. Good job, chat.
Chat's all over it? All right. I think it's Samsung.
You are correct. Good
Okay.
job, chat.
Because I was like, is it Android? Was it Motorola? I was like, Samsung probably.
I thought he said Android, but yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say Android because I knew he wasn't talking about an Apple phone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he actually said Samsung. So.
Just ask Jesse. This is a long one, so bear with me, but it's the same word that we're looking for. Earlier this week, Richard Hart tweeted, "Governments think they can blank their way to prosperity. They can't. They had a cash for clunkers program, so they used cars price." You're just going to get rugged for the heck of it. Very good. The correct answer is tax. Thank you for actually, I didn't have to read all that because I only got a third of the way through it.
Oh, dang.
For attendees, earlier this week, Richard Hart tweeted, "Last Bitcoin bear market sucks so bad, someone registered selltheblank.com, LOL. What is blank?" Earlier this week.
I did see that, but I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was like sell the pump or something.
Earlier this week, Richard Hart tweeted, "Last Bitcoin bear market sucked so bad, bear market, someone registered the selltheblank.com."
It's either sell the dip or sell the pump, but I think sell the pump makes probably most sense. So I'm going to go with that.
Can I steal?
You can do whatever you want. Go ahead.
I'm allowed to guess?
Sure. It doesn't count for your next one, but...
Oh, okay. Well, I think it's sellthebounce.com.
Correct.
Which is basically sell the
That's
pump.
the same thing.
Yeah. But it's sell the bounce.
Chat.
Sell the dead cat.
Take it to the chat. Is Tendies good to stay or not?
I'm taking
yes
names.
or no. Yes
taking
or no.
names.
Yeah, he's watching you. There you go.
Yeah, he's keeping track.
All right, no responses. They're fine with you staying. Oh, nope, we have an out. What the hex doesn't like you, Wendy's? K4K.
Mm-hmm.
Interpol recently issued a red notice for this Terraform Labs co-founder. Name that co-founder. Interpol recently issued a red notice for this Terraform Labs co-founder. I believe is hiding out in Singapore. Who is this co-founder?
Oh, you want the guy's name?
Yes.
Is it Do Kwon?
Randy Hilarski from the Green Room.
Nice. Okay.
It is Do Kwon.
At first, I thought the question was about the freaking, what's it called? The Tornado Cash developer. And I couldn't remember his name. So I was like, hope it's not that question. I forgot his name.
I don't even know the Tornado guy's
I think he's got like a hard name. It's like a Russian name or something.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not getting that one. So luckily,
Do Kwon,
you said
2 syllables.
Singapore, and I was like, Do Kwon. You be running.
Or Mr. Kwon, if you're Terry Doc. Just ask Jesse. Earlier this week, Richard Hart tweeted, perhaps give this a second to marinate for our audience. "Cryptocurrency is the pin. The dying legacy system is the blank." What is blank?
The balloon.
Acceptable. Bubble is the other word.
I was thinking balloon too, dude. I was like, pin balloon. But yeah, it is bubble, I guess.
Have you ever popped a bubble with a pin?
True.
No.
Usually you just poke those with your finger or something.
Yeah.
Yes. For tendies.
Yes.
Here we go. Where are we at? All right. Recently released as part of ongoing litigation, a series of text messages suggest what billionaire is or was interested in creating a blockchain-based social media firm.
A blockchain-based social media firm? A billionaire?
Yes, these were released, I believe, today or this morning.
Man, I haven't really been on Twitter today.
Recently released as part of ongoing litigation. There's another
ongoing litigation. Okay.
A series of text messages suggest what billionaire is or was interested in creating a blockchain-based social media firm.
The only person I can think that's in litigation is the XRP founder. I'm trying to think who else. Maybe could be Elon Musk, I guess, as part of the Twitter suits, but I don't know. I know that Elon Musk was going to supposedly charge like 0.1 Doge for every post on Twitter. Maybe it's that. I'm going to go with that.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer is something that the chat did not get and Wendy's did. It is Elon Musk. Nice work.
Wow.
Deductive
Nice.
reasoning.
Yeah.
Good
So,
job.
good life.
Deductive answer. No, it is not Mike Tyson. All right. And some of those texts were with Jack Dorsey. So close. They're tropical. All right. K4K. Again, these get harder. Earlier this month, the CEO of what San Francisco-based crypto exchange announced he was stepping down? Name that exchange. Earlier this month, the CEO of what San Francisco-based crypto exchange announced he was stepping down? What exchange is that?
Is it the Kraken CEO? That's the only CEO of an exchange I heard was stepping down.
The correct answer is Kraken.
Nice.
Nice work. Just ask Jesse. Here we go. Crypto whale DJ Seed Phrase, cool name, made headlines recently by selling his CryptoPunk for how much? $4, $4,000, 4.4 million, or 44 million?
4.4 million.
He is all over it, ladies and gentlemen. Nice work. 4.4.
Well, I retweeted that, so I should know that.
There you go.
I saw the sale, but that guy has me blocked, so I didn't know it was him.
Nice. In chat. Very good. All right. Back to 4 attendees. What crypto exchange recently won the bid to buy crypto lender Voyager's assets out of bankruptcy?
Easy.
What crypto
The guy
exchange?
with the guy with all the money in crypto. The guy who's probably going to buy Celsius too. FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried.
And he has bank in his last name. There you go. FTX.
Exactly.
All right, Randy. Randy's making up for his early exit. He's gotten pretty much every one of them right. Chat, you're all over it. Good job. Hey, Sloth, what's going on? K4K. Man, we're getting down to the low ones here. Getting harder. Name the former CEO of Kraken that we had talked about earlier. Name the former CEO of Kraken.
Oh no.
What the heck?
Former, I don't know. Maybe his name's Brian. I don't know. I guess it's Brian, dude. I don't remember his name.
Not Brian Armstrong.
It's not Brian Armstrong, but yeah, I don't know who the Kraken CEO is.
Jesse Powell. Jesse Powell.
Please?
Jesse.
The other
Did you know that,
Powell?
Jesse?
What's up?
I knew his name was Jesse, but I can't
Okay.
remember. his
That
last
would have
name.
been close enough.
I should have just asked Jesse.
K4K, you've been rugged. All right. Just ask Jesse. I guess this is to stay in here, or else Wendy's is the champion to start off the year.
3-time.
This might be up Jesse's alley, though. This Oracle Network's new build and scale programs have set the stage for its own token staking to begin in December 2022. Name that coin. This Oracle Network's new build and scale programs have set the stage for its own token staking to begin in December 2022. Name that coin.
Link.
The correct answer, verified by Nikki Crypto, is Link. Nice work.
Finally staking.
That's right. All right, we're down to the hard ones now, boys. So let's see here. Just a couple of names, and then we'll have to go to the tiebreaker if we're still tied. 4 attendees, name the founder of Chainlink. Name the founder.
Sergey. And don't ask me to say his last name. It starts with an N. It's Russian.
Randy says CIA.
You know, some
So-
people actually think that he like his initials are SN, like Satoshi Nakamoto, and he's been
Yeah.
in crypto since the beginning. Some people think that he's actually Satoshi.
I've heard that. Sergey Nazarov is the name. Wendy's, you are in. Just ask Jesse. We're going to ask him, but this is a tough one. It's a Hexagon community or Hexagon celebrity question. Name the Hexagon celebrity boxer who will be participating in a boxing match on October 15th versus Fake Drake. I believe it's in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Kareem, Litecoin Moses / Dollar Cost Crypto, Funding Jim are promoting it all over the place. Name the Hexagon celebrity boxer who will be participating in a boxing match on October 15th versus Fake Drake. I believe he met Richard Hart when he was in Miami as well.
Yeah, he did.
Wendy's, you win.
It is not George Foreman, but it is M to the K. Just ask Jesse. You've been rugged. 4 attendees back and reigning on his throne.
Yeah, it feels good. Feels good. 3 wins in a row. Let's go.
It is your right to address the audience as the victor. Take it away.
What's up, everybody? If you haven't noticed around, it's a bear market. Things are pretty bad. Everything's dying. The dollar's been ripping. Europe's in a bad situation. HEX is down. You should be buying. Don't get distracted with total shitcoins and things that are never going to go anywhere. The most money that you'll make is in the next few months at the bottom of the bear market. Buy, keep your head to the ground. Don't waste your time on, learning dumb shit that is not going to go anywhere. Take this time. It's a crazy macro situation. Learn about how interest rates affect the markets, learn about all this stuff, because as you progress through life, it's these times that you're going to really, really learn a lot, and you're going to take it and you're going to keep growing as an investor. Okay. So if Twitter's bothering you, if other shit's bothering you, just tune out. There's other things outside of crypto. If you look, the macro situation, everything's following each other. So you can be watching streams on stocks and it'll apply to crypto right now. So just keep your head to the grindstone and don't get suckered into half the bullshit that everybody else is. Attendees out.
Well done. Well done. Well done.
Loved it.
All right. Stake it, make it. And that was not financial advice, I don't believe. That was just incredibly
No, it's crypto advice.
great opinion.
It
Yeah.
was non-regulated advice.
Wendy's for president.
Never.
It's like a public address.
They need it sometimes, man. Sometimes I'm just like, man, some of the shit I see on Twitter and stuff, sometimes it's just like, God dang. Like,
Yep.
man, this is the time. This is the time. And it's the time when like everybody gets distracted the most. Everybody wants to be chasing stuff, because it sucks. Like, right. Like bear markets are hard, right? So if there's a chance to get a 10x or something like that, people will go in. But the best opportunity is when it's the bleakest. And, then and I've heard people say like, it's the hardest time to onboard people. And it is true for HEX, because we had the best chart in crypto for so long. So it was so easy to onboard people, right? We would just go to look into HEX and be like, hey, look at this versus Bitcoin, look at that, and then everybody would just get in. So now is the time that you can onboard, but you have to really know what you're talking about. And so some people are caught with their pants down when they can't just point at the chart and be like, look, you're going to be up 2x in 30 days. That's the average.
Well, I do want to say that it looks like QE is back on the table, boys. So especially in Europe and UK and that. So pay attention to that too. I think the US will pivot soon. The US just wants to be ahead of everybody else. And now they don't have to cut back as much because everyone else is destroying their currencies. So I think we'll see a slowdown in the rate cutting. And as soon as we announce next period, maybe we just do 25 basis points or something, then we know the next one will probably be 0 or something like that. So they're getting exactly what they want. The war on the currencies, the U.S. is crushing everybody. They brought them to their knees. Now they're giving them a head, and they're giving the U.S. dollar head. It's just,
You're doing head, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah?
So the Fed got what they wanted, man.
Well, speaking of the Fed, excellent segue there, Randy. So this is a U.S. interest rate tightening cycle chart going back to 72. So only 1980 did the Fed tighten faster, and the economy was not what it was now. I mean, we're 42 years more mature. So the stakes are way higher. So I mean, we're projected to be, I guess at 4%, by the end of this year. And again, that would be pretty much faster than every other cycle except 1980. So
It's a really bad situation, honestly, because like we're getting to a point, like Europe's already there, right, where they have to do QE, and it's too soon. It really is too soon. And so, ideally we'd be able to raise interest rates for a while. And unfortunately, what I think is going to happen is I think we're going to have another like cycle, right? And then we're going to get caught with our pants down, and everyone is going to be in a situation. And I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all, but like, I mean, it's just the truth that like all fiat currencies fail. And like, I'm not saying that it's going to be that this next cycle, but I mean, I could see it, right? Like a traditional cycle is about 7 years. 7 years is another Shemitah, right? So I could see that we have like a potential Great Depression, like the Greater Depression. And, so, typically these things run in 100-year cycles, and it's been about 100 years since the Great Depression. So, like the saying about, good times make weak men. I mean, that's where we're at. So I think that, it's going to get to a point where we're not going to have, they already don't have the tools to really like save us this time to the extent that they did last time. So, I mean, just look back on history. I mean, there's been periods in the market where it was sideways, up and down, violently up and down for 16 years. We don't know that. We haven't been through that. So it's going to be really interesting. I think this next cycle is going to be, a good one. But beyond that, I mean, be prepared.
Could I put something in this one? With the last time we had the 50-year cycle, the Super Shemitah, with its 7 years of 7, was in 1971 when the U.S. went off the gold standard and went into the fiat system. Now we are transitioning in this year, which is the super cycle year. We're transitioning from the fiat system into the CBDC system. So I think it's these cycles. People can ignore it. They can call me crazy. I'm winning, motherfuckers. I follow cycles. I'm not following opinions. So.
And you said you had gone into stables, before all this began. So yeah. You've put it out there, and it's out there. Like you can't go back and be like, oh, I did this. No, you tweeted it, and you were on stream saying it. So good job. Let's see. I had a couple more here. So that's the interest rate chart, obviously. What else do we have here? This is percentage of S&P 500 days down 1%, and it's we're like third highest since 2000. So 2002, 2008, obviously some turbulent years. We're right up there with those. So pretty much like I think it's like 1 out of every 25%. 1 out of every 4 days we're down 1%, which is pretty wild to think about. So a lot of people are getting shaken out, but that also presents great opportunity. Last one, I hear some people, and maybe Wendy's can speak on this a little bit, but a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, the mortgage crisis could come back." This one kind of says it's nowhere near the same as we were in 2007 when you had mortgage originations with a credit score of less than 660. You had like 25%. That's awfully high number there. Now it's down to like 6% now. So
I don't think we're going to see the crash like we did last time.
The real estate's going to get hit.
Real estate is going to get hit. There is markets that are going to be more affected than others because they either were so desired and they pumped up the numbers of houses there, and so supply is going to exceed demand. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to that. I mean, I still have people on my socials, like my personal socials, that are like, happily buying houses right now. And I'm like, what the hell?
What?
Like, yeah, I swear to God, man. I swear to God. And the funny thing is, I usually don't post like a lot of financial stuff on my personal, Facebook. It's just like people I personally know and everything like that. But I literally posted some stuff about like housing. And I said like, hey, if you wait, you're probably going to be in a better situation in 12 to 18 months. Like, just and then like literally like the next day or something like that, I see that and I'm like, well, I guess they just don't believe me. Like, that's cool, whatever. But it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, if there is a lot of still demand, there's a lot of demand for Florida. There's a lot of demand for some of these other cities. Then the other thing is that like, look at the hurricane, right? The hurricane just like wiped out a lot of houses in Florida. So there's going to be demand. That's typically what happens. But then also you're going to have like lumber and all these things go up because you're talking billions of dollars of damage. It's kind of crazy that all this is happening at like the worst possible time, in our recent history. But that's the way the simulation goes.
The simulation goes. And
Hey, if you need a job, right now, get your ass down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Get to work.
They can make money on doing some roofs and stuff for sure.
Yeah, I just posted about how NFTs are down like 92% or whatever. So Richard was right about that too. He's like, not gonna see a bull run until everybody goes zero in those.
But I literally just checked the Bored Apes, and they're still like $80,000.
What were they?
$80,000 to $100,000.
Were they ever in the millions or just a couple hundred thousand?
I think they were in the couple hundred. I mean, I'm sure there was like maybe like the most rare one is like millions or whatever. But
yeah.
One sold for millions the other day.
Did it? A Bored Ape? Or are you talking about the CryptoPunks? Because I've seen CryptoPunks still go for.
Oh yes, there was a CryptoPunk, the gray one. The gray one.
Yeah, the gray one. Yeah.
How much of those real expensive NFTs do you think are just wash trading? Like I can mint an NFT and then just sell it to my other wallet tomorrow for $1 million, and then have that wallet sell it for 700,000, and people think it's on a discount and it sells.
I think some of it is that, but I'll say that there is. I mean, the thing is like people who haven't made money in crypto don't believe that some of it's real, right? They just think whatever. But I mean, like, look, Tiffany partnered with like CryptoPunks, and for 50 grand, you could get your CryptoPunk NFT made into a Tiffany necklace, right? So like there is real money in this, and there is people that are making millions and millions and millions, and shorting, longing, whatever. So to them, buying $1 million CryptoPunk, it's like, it could be whatever. Like think about it, like somebody like Richard, he could buy the most expensive CryptoPunk and it wouldn't do shit to him, right? So you just never know. There is people out there, and it is a status thing. It's kind of turned into that. There, whether you like it or not, the NFT community in crypto is still very, very large, and it does have like an influence on the culture. And that's why honestly that's why I looked, because I figured that like if they came down enough, that maybe I would, because the Bored Apes are, like premium NFTs. If it came down low enough, I would get one just to like segue into that community to try to like bring some of them, that have only done NFTs, because they're like, oh, this guy has a Bored Ape, I'm going to listen to him because he obviously knows what he's doing, right? And then I say like, oh, okay, like this is cool, guys, but like the real money is in some of this other stuff. Have you ever seen an Icosa NFT that like pays you yields?
Yeah.
Like, crazy, like 200% plus yield.
I checked mine today. What the hell?
Bruh, it's crazy. It's man, and that's another thing. Like it's crazy to me because like I don't know if you saw on Twitter, like I saw Maddie was like arguing with Dev Huey about whether Icosa was a plus or a minus, but like the points that he made for Icosa being like a negative on HEX is the same argument that you could make for ETHW HEX, because ETHW HEX does nothing to pump the price of actual HEX, right? Whereas Icosa, I have a lot of HEX, right? There's no need for me to buy more HEX. I bought millions and millions and millions of HEX and Quattro Cinco'd it because of Icosa. So, and that's probably more buy pressure than like many, many people will have, right? So like you could say that, sure, like some people are buying Icosa, some people are buying Hedron, but at the end of the day, like I think it does pump HEX. And when Icosa gets over the ceiling, then it is price positive for HEX. So whereas like HEX on other chains, it does nothing for the price of HEX unless somebody was to dump it and then buy HEX, right?
I turned all of my ERC20s on the other chains into Hedron. That was the play I made.
Mhm.
And some people did it into Hex. I just put it into
Mhm.
Hedron.
Talking Icosa came to mind. I was just looking for somebody who could eloquently explain, like, we're 5, what happened with the Icosa peg in a sense. So
Mhm.
the maxi perpetuals,
Yeah,
I guess,
it's pretty simple.
base
Honestly.
and whatnot, they were all staked, and then we saw a big drop in Icosa, and then it has since come back. But can we outline
Yeah,
what happened?
it was really simple. There was a large player in Icosa that sold a bunch, and he went into Deci, I believe. So it was just, he sold more than, supply and demand. He sold more than was like currently liquid to drive the price down. He went into Deci because he thought that he could make money doing that. It was just a trade, really. And the people bought Icosa at a nice discount.
Heck
And
yeah.
it already came up, a bunch since then. So that's the cool thing about Icosa is, like, a lot of people like me, I haven't bought Icosa. I've just bought Hex and then minted Icosa. But when there's like a big player that's getting out, then it might behoove you to buy Icosa. So
Hey, do you guys want to know a random trivia question based on Michael Light says most NFTs now mint rewards? What's the most used NFT for earning some sort of yield, fees, or rewards?
I don't know. What's that?
No.
No?
It was a trick question.
Uniswap V3, when you liquidity provide,
yeah, true.
you do not get an LP token, you get an
Yes,
NFT.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't realize that.
No, I never done LP on layer 3.
See, you
Or version
learn
3.
on
V3,
this
yeah.
show, except for Motley. He knows a lot, but
Mhm.
that guy. How you doing, Motley? Was it like 4 a.m. or is he back, or is he still halfway around the world?
No, he's in Vietnam.
He
He's
posts the
gone
best
for like 2
pictures I've
months.
ever seen. The
Oh,
best
some of
food,
that
the
food.
best locations. He's
Oh.
like, yeah, this is Monday. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
He's having a good time.
Yeah. Well, let's get into one of these other discussion topics. We're going down the list here. So this is pretty much, I guess, the idea that brought K4K and Just Ask Jesse to this discussion and this season premiere. So there was a nice little Twitter discussion we had here. And Jesse started off, if buy and burn works so well, then for every swap you ever make going forward, I would like you to send a small fraction of what you're swapping into a OX dead address. Then tell yourself you're helping the price. Thanks. And then K4K. And then I'm not going to read it all, but then it came to this fun little discussion here, and why you got made me post this again, and then came into a little debate with other hexagons and pulsicons and pulsidons and whatever you want to call them chiming in. So Jesse and or K4K, who would like to start as I change our branding here, because this is a PulseX conversation. There we go.
Nice.
Well, I mean, I'll start from here, because the first thing you said, Jesse, was like you take a little bit and then you move it to the dead address, but it doesn't just do that,
That's a
because
burn. That's not
it's
a burn.
captured as the trading fee, a portion of it, and then whatever tokens that it captured, it sells those into PulseX to buy up the PulseX price,
Right.
and then it removes the PulseX.
Right.
So it's not just.
But in the
some of
example
it
I gave,
gets burned.
In the example I gave, you cut out the send it to the coin that you like and buy it, because you're literally buying it already. So just imagine a little bit of the value you're putting in. Somebody has to put in that value, right? Maybe you buy directly your PulseX because you like it and you want to pump the price, but you send a little piece of it to the burn address. That's no different.
Yeah, it's as if everybody buying anything on the exchange buys a little bit more of PulseX. That's what's happening. But it's all the little guys, everybody
cumulative.
trading. It's a little
Right,
piece of everything.
It, like, to me, it's like, if you ever seen the picture where it's like a bunch of little fish and there are like so many of them that they're like eating a whole shark. It's kind of like that. It's like the cumulative thing. And I've said this before, that like the buy and burn is actually it's it's exponentially related to like how many users we have coming in. The other thing is that we've seen that when the cheaper it is to do transactions on dexes and centralized exchanges, the more volume you have, because it's very inexpensive, right? If you're doing like, you know, a few dollars, like you're not really paying that much. So we could see like a very high volume. And you know, it doesn't necessarily mean, I've said this too, it doesn't necessarily mean that PulseX is going to outperform Pulse. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, great things about Pulse, but if PulseX is cheaper and you have the volume, you know, stay high, I can't see how that's a bad thing at all.
So you know what's interesting though, 0.06% of the fee, right? So you got 0.29 and then 0.06 of it gets shaved off. The liquidity provider does not get to earn that.
That's right.
Because it's going to the purchase of the PulseX. So on more normal like Uniswap, you can earn, you can, first off, you can pick your fee, which is awesome. You can say, well, I want 0.3 or I want 0.1 or 0.01 or whatever. But on PulseX, you don't get to pick that. And being a liquidity provider, you're not getting the full 0.29 because you're actually losing some of that. You don't get that at all. It gets sent to whoever the liquidity provider of PulseX is. The money gets pumped into the hand. This is how all crypto works. Who's on the other side of the trade? So the liquidity providers end up losing all that value, and that value goes straight to the liquidity provider of PulseX, whoever those people are. Okay. And just because maybe it pumps the price, that doesn't mean that people hold longer. Usually people hit their targets sooner, and the sell pressure is still constant. Like if you hit your target,
it's going to pump too fast, people can't help but sell it.
That's kind of like a weird
that's
argument.
not a problem, dude.
That's kind of a weird argument. Like, so you're saying, are you telling me that like, so currently just and the volume on testnet has not been that high because obviously there's not a lot to do. I mean, obviously when liquid loans came out, there we saw like a big excess in volume and stuff like that. And I think it was like 500 million tokens were bought and burned on the day that liquid loans went live. But like the average right now is like probably like under 200 million. It's not the highest volume. I mean, like when mainnet comes out, I think we'll see like in the billions probably. But are you saying, so like at the sacrifice rate, which is what we're kind of thinking is like the base rate, you're looking at like $7 million of buy and burn right now. Are you like saying that is not like a good thing for PulseX or PulseX holders?
Okay, so here's how the value of all crypto, here's how it works. It's really simple once everyone understands. And it actually explains why there's so much volatility too. The dollars that come into crypto are the only dollars that can ever leave. It's a big game of Pac-Man, okay? Your dollar you use to purchase Bitcoin or USDC or whatever, and you convert that into a coin that you like. And then off of ratio trading, you try to accumulate as many as you can of whatever coins you think will get you the most dollars coming out of the other side. But the only dollars coming in are the dollars that can never leave. Now, what you end up seeing, depending on the liquidity providing models, is you can have billions and billions and billions of dollars flowing into a coin. But if the depth, the liquidity depth doesn't grow proportionally, people end up with major paper gains. And then you have the liquidity providers that just constantly are selling you their tokens, and they're leaving the system with the dollars out the other end. Okay. And then eventually it gets so heavily weighted on one side that something has to break. People have to get liquidated. Everything has to get shaken out so the game can start all over again. Now, just because you're pumping PulseX, that literally means you're taking a tax. You have a taxonomic on some other protocol's token, some random token that doesn't necessarily want to pump your bags. And the liquidity provider is losing 0.06% that he wouldn't be losing if he was using Uniswap.
Well,
so
yes. Okay. So like
there's no incentive token on Uniswap as well.
Maybe it feels good, but that value is coming from other people that don't necessarily want to lose that value.
Jesse, that's life. That's business. Do you realize that MetaMask does that and they don't give it to anybody? They literally make 6 figures a day in fees. So what's the argument there? Like that, I don't get that at all. And yes, welcome to crypto. It's a zero-sum game. We're not in the staking game. We're in the trading game, and that's literally how it works. You're literally trading against everybody
that's
else.
how all markets work. That's how all
Yeah.
markets work.
Yeah. So,
well, not all markets, because there is a way to grow the depth of the liquidity proportional to everyone who comes in. Adoption amplifier was actually a good model of that. There's ways to do that with a brand new crypto.
What I don't see what the downside is of having, like he said on the testnet, it's like $7 million of extra buy pressure for PulseX has happened. What's the difference between that happening from a real person coming in and buying it and never selling it, or the mechanism itself doing it? The price still goes up,
right?
It still just goes up. So I don't see the problem.
So what if all that buy pressure was coming from HEX? Now you have equal and proportional sell pressure of HEX. Do you not?
If
Now
it was
do you
all coming,
understand?
but it's only a small amount from each coin.
Right, like
So individually, it's like
there's
it doesn't really affect
hundreds
the
or
coins.
thousands of coins.
But when
like,
it's altcoins funneled into one
right
thing it buys, it's huge for that thing. And
it's also
everything else
minuscule.
suffers a tiny bit because they get to use this awesome exchange.
If what the average transaction's like $2,000, right? Like it's minuscule. Like you lose more than that right now in Ethereum gas.
But here's the problem with the hype, though, right? Look, eventually, I do feel Uniswap v3 capabilities will be inside of PulseX, right? It's a very powerful tool, but when that happens, there will be just sell walls of the liquidity provider guys just absorbing all those coins constantly. That doesn't necessarily mean you are ever going to be able to extract that value unless you also participate on the LP side of things.
Well, you don't think the price will go up and nobody can take that value out because LP providers will just soak up all of the buy and burn pressure? Is that what you're saying?
That's how all crypto works. That's
But
how all
obviously,
financial markets work.
It's actually a good thing we don't have V3 because they'd have to experience extreme impermanent loss to liquidity provide in V2 with both sides. So it's likely just to be a lower liquidity than if it had V3 implemented, which means we pump even harder from those.
I think it's going to go down over time. I think that like in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of people who do it, and then if we see run-ups, because what matters, like Richard always says, it's like how many people are in to how many are coming in. So if we 10x onboard and we have all these people coming in and like little guys are suffering impermanent loss, and they finally realize like, oh my god, if I would just held my 1 million pulse coins instead of like trading them for USD or something like that, then I would have had X amount. So then they're going to pull liquidity later, and you're just going to have the big players who don't care about impermanent loss, right? Like if you have hundreds of millions of dollars, like you don't care about impermanent loss. It's just about making fees and selling that because you can never dump your bags.
I imagine the buy and burn almost like a lottery. It depends on is it a manual process that happens once a week, once a month. We don't know, right? If it's a constant process that's happening every minute, okay, maybe people can participate and sell back into it, constantly, right? But otherwise, the biggest LP provider at that point in time when that buy and burn happens is just going to have all his tokens stacked up at that wall, and all of a sudden the bot or whoever runs the buy and burn just buys into his tokens, and then he makes all those gains. It doesn't necessarily mean that the price is going to go up. Now, HEX is a good example, right? The other day we had 350 million HEX on the sell side, and we had 1.6 million USDC below the price. Okay. Millions and millions and millions of USDC kept coming in and purchasing HEX, and the price barely moved at all. Now, that's a good deal for the buyers, of course, but that literally left the LP guy with all the USDC, and he just kept pulling the USDC out, leaving the system with it. So while eventually those walls get eaten through and then the price goes up, that doesn't mean that the tokens or the USDC is still there for everyone else to take advantage of that premium in the price. It's gone. It's been pulled. The LP guys pull it out.
So I'm not sure exactly like what you're advocating. Like, what's your point?
Yeah,
isn't that for every coin?
Yeah, like
that's for every coin.
Every coin just doesn't have buy and burn helping its price, but we do. I don't get how that's bad.
Well, can we definitively say that a taxonomic on every coin except for PulseX that pumps into PulseX will actually, at the back end, for all the holders of PulseX, will it benefit them or will it benefit the LP guys who are selling their tokens into that buy and burn more?
Can't everyone be
more?
If we take what you're saying as that's the case and LP guys will extract all the value, it's a free market. Anyone can join in and be an LP as well and extract that value of that buy and burn. If anything, it's like the best pool to be in them.
And from an ROI perspective, I don't think, and I mean, like K4K could even say this, like the people who will receive the greatest ROIs are not going to be the LP guys. The LP guys are suffering in permanent loss. I mean, I've done it since the beginning. And so I know, like, if you're an individual holder, you will highly likely get a higher ROI by not selling your appreciating coins for the ones that are doing poorer. I mean, that's just math. So, I mean, I still don't get like.
But the LP guys literally capture the value. Remember at the beginning, this is how all markets work. The dollars in are the dollars out. Zero sum game. Okay. So in the same zero sum game in a buy and burn, who's the guy who's capturing the coins? The LP guy. He pulls them out. Or they get like the guy who had the PulseX for sale to begin with. He just sold those PulseX. He's out. Okay.
It's a little different though, because you're talking like V3. In V2, you have to have equal size.
Yeah, we're V2,
okay?
bud.
Yeah, so like that argument doesn't really make sense. So because you're saying like the LP always wins. Okay. Well,
right.
let's say I have $100 million, okay? And let's say the liquidity pool is 300 million. Let's say that I just got pure price appreciation. The other whales were providing liquidity the whole time. Okay. Now I'm ready to dump. I dump $100 million and I was never an LP. I pulled now the USDC out and I'm out. How did the LPs beat me?
What I previously said, right? Nobody wants to be an LP when that's
not true though. That's literally
you can't get the 0.29 because 0.06 of that or 0.06 is being taken from you for somebody else's benefit. And you're like, wait a minute, I like the 0.3%. Why am I? Look, the buyers are getting a good rate, 0.29. Cool. It's enticing to them. Oh, barely any discount off of what they could get it somewhere else. But then you've got the LP guys who are like, wait, I'm getting a 0.29, but 0.06 of it, I don't even get. Actually, I don't even see that ever. Like, why would anybody participate in providing LP if the rate it just gets taken away from them and sent to the PulseX people for a buy and burn?
Because a lot of the guys that are providing liquidity are whales, okay? And these whales have lots of PulseX. That's why.
Of course. But so you can go over to Uniswap V3 and
they want to see the price higher.
They don't.
Why would they want it to stay low?
I could tell you right now, they don't care because like it's like if you have so let's just talk about HEX because that's easier, right? If you the top sharks in HEX have around $30 million, okay, like the top 5 sharks, they have $30 million. Can they sell $30 million? No. So
it's already gone. An LP guy already got that $30 million worth of USDC and it's bounced.
Okay, so if you have more than you can sell, then a lot of times it makes sense to just provide liquidity and get fees along the way.
Yeah, people will do it anyway, even if they're getting a less optimal rate as you see it versus V3. It's like, yeah, they might get a little bit less LP, but these guys held through, like in HEX, 10,000x price performance. Still up like, what, 1,000x or something?
Yeah, but that's one metric that we can't only look at price. Like we say that all the time, 10,000x. But again, if all that USDC's already left the system through the LP guys, that's literally paper gains. Then you have to kind of figure out, well, what's the actual value of this HEX or whatever coin you're in. So
that might be a concern, like in a bear market. It's not a concern in a bull market. In a bull market, everyone is going.
Well, it could get worse. Money. It could get worse in a bull market.
In what aspect? So you're saying that there's going to be liquidity issues in a bull market? I don't think so. Especially when you're talking about like incentive, right? Like I'm bringing millions of dollars over, so I just don't see, like people saying like, oh, I'm not going to bring this over. I mean, you already have like a lot of top influencers that are making videos on like PulseChain and PulseX, right. Like Honestly, this just sounds like useless FUD for no reason.
It's not fun. This is all financial markets. This is
I
how
think
it
we're
works.
guys.
This is
Let's
why-
pull it back, guys. Let's pull it back a little bit. I think we're losing the chat. People are like, "What the hell are you guys even talking about?" So let's try to rework what we're talking about here just to help everybody out, because even I'm fucking confused.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like, I guess PulseX's potential buy and burn performance and how that affects LPs, because they will be getting less of their percentage that they're used to in PulseX. So liquidity providers get a little bit worse deal. But we also have the incentive program, and it's going to be built amazingly well because it's built by Richard's team. So you can go and use Uniswap v3 on PulseChain. There's probably going to be front ends for it created, and people can still provide because the contracts are there. And so we may see some liquidity start to grow there as people try to take more advantage of the LP. Maybe that outpaces the Uniswap v2 version of PulseX with the incentive token and all the yield farming going on. I feel like that's going to be a lot more enticing, especially to like the average user, along with anybody who's been around since like 2020 doing those yield farms. Like all those guys, they understand, oh, I provide liquidity with stuff I already like, and I just get this extra token on top, free stuff. So a lot of people are going to be providing liquidity in Uniswap v2 for that incentive token, because you never know about the future of that development of any token involving that. Just like how HEX was created, and now we have like Hedron, Icosa, all this stuff built on top of it, that adds value to HEX. But you didn't know about that stuff coming out years ago. Yet you always have that ability in crypto that something could be built and be amazing in the future. So like the best money in the world can be created every single day in crypto. It's just who can find out about it and hold that stuff.
Well, and even if you look at the price performance of other like incentive coins, and if you look at like, you know, some like exchange coins, they've still done well in bull markets. So like I don't see that. I just don't see the issue at all. And I think that like he said with the incentive coin, like people are going to print money and provide liquidity.
It'll do well.
Okay.
But I think with every purchase, there's a seller, right? There's a buyer and a seller. And you have to ask yourself, well, is the pumpamental of this benefiting more the community or the guy or gals who are right there at the LP, who are just scraping those coins, you know, right at the LP wall?
But like it's open and everybody can do it. So if you see how it can be done and you can extract all the buy and burn value, you can just print money every day. If you don't think it's risky to provide liquidity and possibly lose your PulseX,
exactly, and that's to be determined, right? Like I made a case that like the LP providers could actually be likely underperform the people that are just holding, right? People just holding, people staking, maybe people like lending and getting, you know, like 8% on fiat. You know,
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
because
so
I think impermanent loss. First off, being forced your only option V2 initially. Well, you may be subjecting yourself to more impermanent loss risk than you prefer, right? Targeting your liquidity, sometimes you can control a little bit of that. So then you do have the staking function to try and offset some of that. But we already have like 100,000 people who are going to be chasing those staking yields. So now the staking yields, are they really going to be that great when 100,000 people FOMO into them all?
I think there's going to be multiple things, right? It's the same thing with like Ethereum, right? So like, you know, in Ethereum, you have Compound, you have Aave. I mean, I was using, you know, so like Aave maybe was like the most popular. There was like DeFi things that I was using, and I was making 26 APY on stables throughout the bull. So like, I think there's going to be multiple options. And perhaps there's going to be some that are oversaturated. You're not going to get like a ton of APY from, you know, lending. The lowest APY will probably just be staking, you know, delegating Pulse to stake like that. But it's also the safest, you know, but you're not going to really get much APY. But the lesser known stuff, maybe some of the new DeFi stuff, you could get higher rewards. But guess what? There's always going to be people in every single bull market that do better or worse than somebody else. This isn't communism. This isn't socialism, right? Like you're going to have winners, you're going to have losers. And so the best thing that you can do is educate yourself. And like I've always said, even if you don't want to risk it, like try a little bit and just see how it works. But I mean, I just don't think, especially because we're talking about something that's like so minuscule. And yes, it's minuscule, but like in the grand scheme, it's probably going to be a net positive to PulseX. But if it was private, like the same as MetaMask or like Richard Hart's like wallet coin, you know, like I just don't think it's going to be like this, you know, huge negative, externality on the ecosystem.
So I think we'll end up seeing something where some people actually will just market buy some coins they like. Maybe that's PulseX or HEX or whatever from PulseX, and then take them straight back to Uniswap v3, which is fully functional on testnet right now, by the way. You can use Alex's front end, and you can provide liquidity wherever you want to at whatever fee you want to. And there's going to be people who like that play over there. And there is probably going to be some amazing arbitrage back and forth between PulseX and Uniswap v3. We're going to see that. So the volume, yeah, maybe PulseX will always have the most volume. And maybe there's something to be said about that. But you have more control as a buyer or seller over here at Uniswap v3 until Richard has v3 built in.
We've got till like April till the license expires, and I'm sure they can whip something up, an upgraded version. No expectations, but like I don't see why they wouldn't do that unless they saw a reason for it not to be implemented. Like maybe it's worse for pumping with Uniswap v3 because of the reasons you explain. People extracting, people market buying and selling, and then the price doesn't move. Well, you almost can't stop that with with v2. It's like, oh, it's market buy or provide infinite liquidity. So it could be better for price performance and less games being played at those higher levels of liquidity provision, because those obviously can be extractatory. That's the word. Yeah, I see you're concerned with the LP guys maybe not liking what they are dealt.
Usually they're a little bit, bigger. They're looking for some sort of strategies for either accumulation or getting out. And they just like to have all the control. And Uniswap v3 has so much functionality over PulseX that I do think some coins will migrate back to v3. And I actually think Richard believes that too. It's inevitable. It's a smart contract that exists on the chain, and it's probably going to stock itself back up to some level. How much, we don't know.
Yeah, I think so as well. Someone's going to use it. If they like that control and they're able to make money with it, people will make money however they can make money.
And they can actually use it to front run the rates of PulseX. So when you can pick your rate and it's like, oh, a purchase, all the buyers over there on PulseX have to pay a 0.29. So I'm just going to make all the fees over here on Uniswap v3 at a 0.01. Well, where are people going to buy from now? Right. So I think we're going to see some games back and forth, and that's healthy. That's healthy for a blockchain to have a lot of options.
Yeah. I just don't think it's like, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, there's so many people that instantly, the reason why Richard Hart's doing a wallet coin is because do you realize how many people just buy straight from MetaMask? They don't give a fuck about the fees. They just want convenience.
It's like a 0.875% fee extra.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like super high. You're talking multiple X's higher than PulseX. I mean, I don't know. But anyways.
And PulseX is convenient. Well, it's clean. It's such a clean, smooth,
nice.
easy to understand interface, and there's something to say about that. That's why I firmly believe it will have a ton of volume going through it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see a nice front end eventually and stuff like that. But yeah, I just don't think. I think we'll see, but I don't think it's going to be like a terrible thing. I think that PulseX will benefit from the buy and burn. I think that it'll be overall a very successful thing. Because the thing is like there's going to be people and I know because I was one of them that like bridge to other ecosystems, like other chains for their LP programs. Okay. So like there's going to be people coming to PulseChain that would not have came if there was no PulseX. And I think that's huge. And I think Richard knows that. And that's why he's doing that.
Awesome.
What else you got, Cabana?
I'm just making sure the bow has been tied. That's all. So, all right. What is next? Well, we have this like little tweet from Circle that Dipcatcher chimed in on. Let me find it here. It was actually from Circle. Our partners at Allbridge, blah, 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 will be the first to integrate cross-chain transfer protocol within their platforms. more intended, and that got our friend Dipcatcher excited, and he said maybe USDC on PulseChain isn't as far-fetched as we think it is. Just what are your thoughts, guys?
Of course, USDC is going to be on PulseChain, like
In its own way.
Wrapped.
Wrapped.
What does the article say? Are they saying that they're going to support other chains, or what they're going to do when they get forked over to new stuff? Is that what I didn't read the whole thing, so
It was a tweet thread. It's probably too long to go through here, but I think like the general gist of it was, let's see, the first to integrate, just kind of like a more direct instead of wrap. I don't,
because we're going to have the copied over USDC for sure, but I'm questioning what they detailed in this report about what they'll be doing more officially.
I mean, I
with
think
forks.
I know they have supported like native chains, but I think that like if we get a lot of users coming on to PulseChain and there's demand, there, I mean, why wouldn't they, support it? So that's kind of how I see it. But again, we don't necessarily need it. I mean, it would be better if it was native, but because if it's native, and like you could see like being able to buy USDC on Coinbase and then directly sending it to a PulseChain address, right? Like that would be beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see, but either way, you'll be able to get PulseChain over there and buy, and so whether we see it wrapped in the beginning or whatever, like you'll be able to use them.
But if we've seen what happened to ETHPOW and ETHFair, it's negligible, right? It's worthless at the moment.
No.
Yeah,
That's
the
the copy.
copied
That's
stuff?
not the wrapped, because wrapped
It's like
you can
all
redeem.
copied coins.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about wrapped. I was talking about the copies. Yeah.
Yeah. The copies are just
Let's forget about that.
yeah.
You literally can't
It's just free
make
money.
those redeemable without your business cutting its value in half. And that's just impractical to think Circle is going to say, oh, we have however many billion stable coins out there that we have to have fully redeemable for fiat.
Yeah. You're just
Now we have
diluting
double
yourselves
those.
over and over and over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Next up, we have Steph, who is all bulled up. I haven't seen him this bullish in a while. Engines are warming up. Don't say you didn't know. This was in response to his tweet a few days ago. HEX has been sitting for 3 cents for the past 3 months. Don't be surprised when the train leaves the station, followed by a lot of a series of bullish tweets. And we have Jesse, our panelist, commenting in the comments there. Let's pull up the old HEX chart. And
Have you seen hexfire.io made by Crispy?
you did send that to me. That's the one thing I did not put in the thing, so I can pull that up.
So
too.
between now and the end of the year, $400 million in the bear market, mind you, $400 million worth of HEX is becoming naturally unstaked, not early unstaked or anything like that. So it literally boils down to what's going to be the behavior of those people. If we're in a bear market and they say, let me restake this so I can try and capture the next bull market. Or, and by the way, you can look and you can see how much profit they're already in. Some of those guys are just up a few percent. Some of those guys are up. If you click stake, HEX staking data on the left there.
Where are we at?
Right there. And then at first this was kind of confusing, by the way. So on start date, just leave it open. Just leave it what it is. Expected end date, you would put like today and then pick a range like out to the end of the year or something. So click the little calendar next to the date, go left a little bit, go to the one right there, and then pick today's date there. All right, and then for end date, like go out to like December 31st or something, right? Just to get a range in there.
Right here.
Yep. And you can supposedly filter out the OA, which is just a handful of wallets in here, but I don't know how to do that.
That's way better. What'd you say, December 31st?
Yeah. All right. Okay, so here's all the stakes ending between now and December 31st. And if you scroll over to the right a little bit, you can see how much they're worth. $432 million at the current value. Right? So you literally have to ask yourself, what are these guys going to do? Are they up? And you can go in here and you can see how up they currently are from the value at the time they put it in. You can just guess, right? Speculate. Are these guys going to restake? Are they going to try and sell? Are they going to be liquidity providers? Is there going to be a big sell wall? Or are they going to buy more because we're in a dip right now? If they do all decide to be liquidity providers or take profits or something, the price would go sideways for a really long time. It doesn't mean it would go down necessarily, but because HEX is unique with its staking pattern, you can't only look at the price. You got to get at least a little snippet of what the future may hold from people's stakes, and this site's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to have this tool available. Like Bitcoin's like, when are these guys going to sell? They hold a lot. Well, it's been available for years. We don't know what he's going to do. It could dump anytime. At least we know when the stuff is likely to be dumped or maybe available to be dumped.
When it's possible.
When it's not locked. Yeah.
Right. Like that. If anything, this just shows how awesome our tooling infrastructure is for HEX, where we're just like, yeah, we know when stuff is available to be sold. Do you know that in Bitcoin? Nope.
Oh, look at the top right. Filter out.
Exclude
Go
OA.
ahead and filter out the OA, and then, or that I guess that one there displays the OA, right?
Yeah.
How much of that is his or hers? What did that say when you had the OA addresses there? Okay, 50 mil of that. 50 mil of that is like you just forget about. Just don't even think about.
You know, someone I can't remember his name, but he made a video today about EIP 4444 and how tools like this might not work anymore if EIP 4444 becomes into law on the ETH chain.
Why?
Because you can't go back as far.
Because each day you won't have the data available to pull. So it's going to make it difficult to have these kind of sites operating.
Interesting.
Yeah, wasn't Dev Kyle talking about that? That was an amazing discussion they had. But he described
Yeah,
that a bit,
I'd like to
how they only
plug
go a
that
year
stream
back or
because that
something.
was a really cool chat with him and Hexo, Coffee. Shoot, who else was on there? Artiste. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and an explosive artist as well.
But yeah, I mean, we you know, I said months and months and months ago that we had to wash some sharks out, and that's like literally what's happening. In 2 weeks, you'll see one of the guys that's been dumping the price has more stakes coming. He's got 2 big stakes coming out. I think probably like around 50 million hex or so. And then maybe like 20, 30 days later, he has another 50 million hex that was interest, and he staked it over the long term because he was dumping in the meantime. So yeah, I mean, like we could be down for a while. I mean, guys, it's bear market. Like a lot of times alts are down low for years. And you know, like look at ADA. Look at ADA last cycle and see how low it was for how long. It was down like 98, 99%. And it was years. I think like Bitcoin halving happened before you know, it ever started like really running again. So like that's just the way alts are sometimes, you know. But if it does stay down and wash out all these like, you know, big players and we have another bull run, that's how you get those X's, right? I mean, making 100X in crypto is not the easiest thing. So if we do wash some of these guys out, you're going to have the potential for those kinds of returns. Are you going to get them? I don't know, because guess what? It's scary buying that low because you're like, holy shit, like, am I going to lose my money that I'm putting in now? Like that is the feeling that all of us who've been in crypto a long time have felt sometimes when we're buying near the lows. I mean, I've talked about it before. It is scary. I mean, you know, buying ETH at $80 after it was at 1420 was scary, right? But you know, it's like you're just like, oh shit, here we go. So that's why I always say, you know, keep working. You know, where you have like a steady income and everything like that, and you can put it in and just, you know, pray to the stars. But what I would say is that crypto runs on fear and greed. So if I know anything, greed's going to come back, and it's going to come back roaring. And you know, before long, the thing is like the easiest time to get people in, unfortunately, is after the bottom is in, right? So when we know for sure that the bottom is in, we're up multiple X's. Like let's say maybe Hex is like 20 cents, and you're like, look, you could have bought at 1. I told you at 1. You didn't want to listen to me. And they're like, well, where's it? Is it going to like $20? And then
I believe you now.
Yeah, I believe you now. And that's when people buy. So it is hard. It is a tough time. You got to
shakeouts are necessary.
And they are. It's redistribution, guys. It is like if that. Here's another thing. Okay. One thing I really don't like that I've seen a lot lately is that the community kind of like gives shit to like OGs or, other people, selling and stuff like that. Like, guys, we are a community. And what I saw in the early days of Hex was like the Bitcoin community. Every time Bitcoin dumps, do you see people like adding the Winklevi twins? You fucks, I know you guys are dumping. You guys have 400,000 Bitcoin. You got to see it as an opportunity because there's people that are still like, I just want to own a single Bitcoin. I just want to own a fraction of a Bitcoin. So, that's the mentality that's going to take Hex for many, many years and see your 15.2 year stakes to fruition. Okay. So you got to change your mindset.
No, that's a great point, especially about not having to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy part of one. And
you see that tweet I made about that too?
Mm-mm.
I saw it.
I see a lot of tweets, but refresh my memory.
I try to stay off Twitter as much as possible. It's pretty fucking toxic.
So, oftentimes in crypto, there's a narrative of rarity.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
The price is going to go up because this thing is rare. Well, Bitcoin, you could say maybe is rare because there's only 21 million possible. But how much did a single Satoshi go up in value? And there's like gazillions of them, right? It went up a 6 million X. So you forget Bitcoin even exists. There's like gazillions of Satoshis that did a 6 million X. When you have things that you can just divide down into decimals or fractions, like that narrative no longer applies. Rarity only applies to something you can't cut in pieces. NFTs.
Well, it's always been about percent of supply you own, not the amount of coins. None of that matters. It's about percentage of total ownership, because then you get to ride the gains.
Yeah, it's just a narrative thing.
Yeah, how much of the pie can you get? How big of a piece of the pie can you get? Now, NFTs are unique because most of them are not divisible into pieces, right? You have this thing that you can now sell to another person peer-to-peer, and they pay you whatever they think it's worth. So the narrative is different for those kind of tokens.
But like if you look at the Hex community, we're actually some of the best because we don't say, X amount. If you look at like the way the Staker app is, it's like your percent of the shares, right? Same thing with Icosa, same thing, with like Hedron. It's showing you like what percent you have. And that's a better way to think about things than just to say like, I got 0.1 Bitcoin, or a billion or a trillion or whatever.
What
like
percentage of the total supply? What percentage of the total supply do you own? That's a good thing to know. What percentage of the total supply of Hex do you own, or how much of the staking pool do you own? Or hey, I've got all this PulseX, and I'm going to single-sided stake it, but what's my percentage of the total stake? Right, that's more helpful than price alone, or even like the quantity of coins that you have.
Yep.
Onward, gents. I think this one you may have spoken on last night there, Randy. We're going to get into, and hopefully this topic will be very quick. Not my favorite, but it warrants conversation, and that is of the Furu variety and Senor Lark man, whom Richard has poked at, and I am blocked, and many Hexkins are blocked from as well. But Zach XBT went into like it was a long thread, and he went in. I think it was like 8 different instances of pump and dumps to where, it's just awful, and he found
dude's wrecked.
Yeah, he found the wallets. I get, you can never officially, I guess, prove 100%, but come on. Linked a lot of these coins to the wallets, and the timing is just more than coincidental.
And that was only 2 of his wallets.
Yes, correct. So I know you have a lot of insight, and you've shared some here before because you know how things go on behind the scenes. But does this surprise you at all? I would think not. And then any other comments on this?
No, because this is how we, influencers work in the space. You either take USD up front, which many of them do. And I think more and more of them are doing that now. We've seen lists in the past that came out in 2021 with BitBoy and all those guys on it, and Crypto Wendy. They're all on the list. How much money they charge? $15,000 to $45,000 just to talk about something in one of their live streams or one of their shows. But Lark Davis, he was the type of guy who took coins and he immediately dumped them as soon as he tweeted or he made a post about it. And I mean, this is really, I never heard of such a thing. When you're part of a team, like I've done in the past, I always had a lockup period, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Even one time I had 2-year lockup. And, you take the risk that, maybe this coin's going to moon or this coin's going to be worthless, right? But Lark Davis was getting paid up front at the launch of these tokens. A lot of them were Polka starters, which everyone knows is a cesspool of tokens. A lot of those things don't even exist anymore. They came out, I think, Polka Starter about 1.5 years ago. I was in Mexico when it was really popular, and a lot of shit coins were launched on Polka Starter, and they were dead within 6 months, gone, don't even exist anymore. And Lark Davis was out there shilling them. So, that's a real tragedy.
The founders,
especially for
do
like
the
how
same
much
thing.
he's making.
If you're a founder of a protocol willing to give tokens to Lark Davis, you're probably also going to dump on your own community.
Yeah, he did 1.2 million with just these 8.
Jesse's
So
right.
anything he's ever shilled, people should probably just go the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good
That's
thing
how
he's
it is
never
for
showed
most of
HEX.
Well, yeah, he never had any.
Isn't that good?
Mm-hmm.
And Wake Dog's right. I am jealous that I didn't get paid and Lark got paid instead.
I just think it's like sad that, so a lot of people listen to these guys, but like, I mean, so many of them know nothing about crypto, and it's clear that they only made money because other people gave it to them. Like they're not investors, they're not traders, they just are leeches. And it's kind of sad when you have like that big of an audience and you feel the need to like shit on your audience that is like what's making you rich. Because I don't know how much he makes, but like I would say at least in the bull, he's probably making $100,000 a month in just video ad revenue. Like, how much money do you fucking need? Like, it's just pathetic.
You know how these fees solves this, by the way. So you can have a protocol. You can have a protocol that the team itself has 0 coins, and they just earn fees, right? Staker app is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
You pay a fee to use Staker app. The fee goes to the founding team, Steph and Fireblend, right? Perfectly acceptable. They literally have nothing that they can dump on your head. And there's other protocols, bigger protocols that even on PulseChain will be the same exact way. And if anybody needs to hire somebody for some sort of work, whether it's like content creation for thumbnails and diagrams, or maybe you do need some sort of announcement on YouTube or something, it's always best for a team to pay in cash or with USDC or something. Don't pay with your own token, because they absolutely would dump it on your own community. Why would you pay them in your token?
Yeah, dude, some of them are really damning in there, where it's like he'll tweet about it right before he dumps it, and then tweets about it again the next day before he dumps more. It's like, dude, if this is really your wallet, this is horrible, dude. I can't believe that it's really sad too, because the people who come into crypto, who gets the biggest results? Oh, the biggest YouTubers. Oh, why do they have so many? Because people come into crypto, they talk about every single crypto out there as if they're just providing information. They're like, do your own research, guys. I got paid, but do your own research, and also I'm gonna dump it all on your head. It's like, that's what a lot of these original 2017 YouTuber guys are doing. And then that's why a lot of them have like almost no engagement on their stuff compared to Hexkin stuff. Because Hexkins, we're all still around. Even in a bear market, we're all still around, hundreds and hundreds of likes on stuff. You see some of these guys, big guys with like 500,000 followers, you're like, oh, 50 likes? like why are they getting such lower turnout? It's because they churn these people through the meat grinder. They get wrecked on trading fees, thinking they can follow a chart and trade with leverage because this guy said, as long as I do my own research, it's safe. Like, no, they're getting the wrong information and getting wrecked.
There's a guy in a chat room the other day I'm not gonna say his name. He's actually a good guy. He's funny sometimes. He says, if only, hey guys, I'm on this trading platform, and what if I put 200x leverage and I do this trade? If I just win 27 times in a row, I'd have X amount of money. And he spits out some, and I'm like, I started laughing. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, dude?
Why only 200x leverage?
27 times in a row. There's somebody on the other end of that trade who's thinking they can do the same thing. But the problem is 15 of them are the exchange, and they're just going to steal your money.
Liquidate user button. Scamwix, dude. Oh my gosh. Do you remember the BART patterns in 2017 with that like ignition or what volatility ignition?
Drop it 5% in 10 seconds and get them all out of there.
It would just wreck everybody. Go sideways for a few minutes. Down Bart Simpson's head style chart patterns. It was so, dude, there's no way that was legal to do. That was so manipulated back then. It probably is very similar still. That's why I really like the DEX ecosystem and stuff. You can at least see what everybody's holding and what they're interacting with and see what everybody's doing. Like that's valuable. You know, there's not like a liquidate all button.
And that's one reason why I do not like privacy coins anymore, because you cannot see what's going on.
Right.
Something like trade over. You have no idea. Yeah.
Like they didn't know about that. Which one had an inflation bug? It was like 10% of the supply, and it was like a privacy coin or something. It was bad.
Oh, I can't remember.
But yeah, like that's freaky because you're like, oh, someone should verify it and bring it out to the public, but some people find it out and exploit it for a long time before anybody knows. So.
Doesn't it make you wonder? Because the PulseChain team found like supposedly critical vulnerabilities with BSC. Man, I mean, like, how crazy would it just be if those devs were just like, all right, BSC, time to get fucked. It's like we got one before we launch. We got 1 million BNB. Like coin market cap. Like put HEX where it belongs, or else.
Even Epic Cash. One of the projects I launched was Epic Cash, and they did have an inflation bug about, I think it was 8 or 9 months ago, and they found it and fixed it. But still, I lost. I was buying. I saw the token price drop a whole bunch on the app that they use. I'm like, oh, what a great deal! I'm buying it up. I ended up losing like $1,400 that day, just because I was buying the fake tokens. And they put all the coins. They stopped trading, and they waited like a month and a half before they launched the version 2 of the token. And anybody who had that, sorry. And I just thought I was getting a good deal. Well, I got screwed.
There's so much stuff that goes bad in crypto. I'm surprised HEX has lasted 1,000 days, no problems. Like, what is that? Richard really must know what he's doing with his devs.
What do you think about the go.hex.com site? Somebody requested that Richard update it and get rid of like the Bitcoin free claim and stuff. And I think one of the devs said, oh, but we have 100% uptime.
Oh, never updated. No, but they do update it. They've changed stuff to the website. Changed it before.
They have. That was a good reply.
They must be doing it in a test environment and then just merging it live or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think Coffee would know that. For sure.
Yeah, when they updated and added the big payday coins, remember that? I think that wasn't there a new bar that they put in there?
Yeah, and they've made some like button changes and color changes and like just the aesthetic stuff.
A warning, the warning thing that comes across with red lines on it.
Pop up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you emergency or whatever. I think.
But I mean, like ultimately, that's the reason why I'm like happy. I think like so many people are frustrated about PulseChain. It's like I get it, like everybody's bored. We would like to be playing with coins, but it's like imperative that they nail PulseChain correctly. And like whether Richard's waiting for the bottom or not, I mean, we have a history. Like last time, like HEX launched a year after literally 1 year after the bottom. So like if we were gonna do the same thing as like what HEX did, if the bottom was in June, it could launch in June. If the bottom hasn't happened yet and it's gonna happen in like Q4, November, December, it could launch next November or December. You know what I'm saying? So like.
Well, if it takes 5 years,
I'm just saying.
if it takes 5 years to launch from sacrifice phase, the statute of limitations, on the Security Exchange Commission is only 5 years. So then
Stop, Jesse. What are you saying?
listen,
You
I-
made that up.
I'm just
What?
kidding.
The
It
backhand
is true,
you-
though. It
It
is
is true. That's so funny, dude. Oh my god.
But I do expect it to launch probably
Before
first
5 years,
quarter or
yes.
mid, like at the latest mid next year. We can all hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was
I
your
just-
first?
I just want to
call,
see
Jesse?
most of the pain over with.
Yeah. In the overall market.
Yeah.
Before,
Yeah, because it's just better. It's just like, and already I've talked to people and I've seen people like, I need it to launch. Like I need that money. You know what I'm saying? Like one guy, he's probably watching because he was watching last time I talked about him, but he's like, bruh, I took a loan, and he's like, that loan, like I gotta pay it. And I was like, oh, and then he was like, oh, and I owe taxes, and it's like, I was like, oh, you're fucked. You're royally fucked, bro. Like I'm sorry, like that was not a good move. Like don't do that again.
So, you should have taken one of
there
those
is people
liquid
that-
loans.
You're like, who would dump on launch day? This guy's like, the fucking IRS is coming after me.
Oh my, that sucks.
Yeah.
And I think as bullish as like most of us are, like times that by hundreds or thousands maybe of people, and that's why people are so vocal on socials. When can I dump? I think is pretty much what they're asking because
I
their
think
money's
it's
been
the
dumped.
opposite. There's more people who know about PulseChain now probably than during the SAC phase, and so those are all people who are just waiting to buy on day one.
They are because like I run the PulseX bot, and I answer, like I'll log in and answer like questions all the time. They're like, when can I buy? And I'm like, oh, like I'll let you know.
Yeah. We could build a bot or some sort of meter. Whenever somebody says when, it just asks them, have you sacrificed, or are you somebody who did not sacrifice? And then it could be like, oh, okay, this guy's gonna be a dumper because he keeps asking when.
That's a good
This guy's
number
excited
dial.
to buy.
Oh man.
The PulseChain Fear and Greed Index. And then, that's good. I like it.
For anybody who's worried about the tax man coming after you, man, just go to move Bali for a year and a half or 2 years and disappear, and they can't get you. And you work out a deal with them online before you come home. That's just Randy's recommendation.
Voting accidents.
Yeah. Get out of the country. Non-extradition countries.
Didn't work
I'm
out for
so
John
glad-
McAfee though.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that Richard is building the PulseChain, because if he wasn't the figurehead in the crypto ecosystem building it, I'd still want something like PulseChain to be being built because of what it stands for.
Mm-hmm.
So like if he goes away and he can't finish building it or something, like I feel like the Hex community would take up arms and get it built regardless, because it needs to be built. Everybody wants this in the market. We want a faster chain. We want 3-second blocks, not 13. We want cheap transactions. We don't want a bad airdrop to every holder in the past, like ETHW did, where they gave everybody who had ETH a whole ETH on their chain to dump.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least in PulseChain, when it starts, everybody who's in pretty much paid to be there, so you're not likely to dump. Whereas most people got, if you get one pulse for free because you had one ETH, you don't have much to dump. You kind of have play money to interact with. Is perfect. It's
Well,
like,
the other thing is
often is
I don't think he's gonna like exactly say when like the second the fork is. Whereas like on ETHW knew. So like the move was to like buy ETH, right? Like go on Aave, borrow more ETH, and then close your loan for basically for free and sell it. And actually the price didn't even move that much right after the fork. So like you would have came out like way ahead. I was surprised like more people weren't like talking about that.
Jesse, did you do that? Don't say. I'm just teasing him.
I did have a strategy for each of those two chains that popped up, but it didn't involve loans. There is a guy who noticed that USDL on the PulseChain testnet for some reason depegged up to like $1.30 for a brief period of time. So he did the smart thing. He goes, well, wait a minute, I could take a loan out. I don't know what he picked, but he said, I'll take $1 million loan, put it at the lowest level, the lowest collateralization level. So I'm going to lose 10% because somebody's going to it's going to liquidate, but that's fine. He took all that USDL and dumped it straight into USDC and Pulse, and then like made like $200,000 or $300,000 right there. He arbitraged the price back to $1. So there are reverse arbitrages to peg stable coins, which are interesting. And some of these strategies involve taking a loan to do it.
This happened with DAI too. DAI went to $1.40 in the 2018 bear market. It's typically when like people got to pay off their stuff and everyone's like rushing into the, you know, the stable coin, but so it's usually during like a bearish time.
But when you see a stable coin like DAI or USDL or something, and it's like, wow, it's way more expensive than USDC. You literally take a loan for it, and then you just go dump it, which brings the value back down. But you go dump it for USDC, and the quantity of USDC that you get is a lot. It's a lot more than the quantity that you just dumped. And then you just made a bunch of money, and you helped the community bring the price back to $1.
And there you have it. Freddie quotes in the chat. What's going on? Benny Blanco. The only thing I expect is the hex code to pay every day.
Absolutely.
For 1,000 days. There you go. Or more. And
I love the certainty the hex code brings, like, to the community. We're like, well, as long as hex is good, the stuff built on top of it, at least it's got a solid base. You know, without that solid base, what are you building on?
Exactly.
Since we are talking about PulseChain, probably a good little segue for, we got a couple topics left. One on the board is growing PulseChain, perhaps via Power City.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about this, Jesse?
Yeah, so we partner with Multichain. We've been working with them behind the scenes for some time now, and finally got to a point where, okay, we're time to make this announcement. So 68 blockchains, thousands of coins. You can go in to and from pretty much any blockchain that you've ever heard of. There's some obscure ones that you can't go to, with whatever is available on those chains. Multi-chain has something that's called a router function that actually uses the existing liquidity pools on either chain. So the Uniswap pools or the PulseX pools. And it uses those, and it just uses that existing liquidity. And it uses like a decentralized MPC network, I think it's called, to facilitate the swaps on both of those chains. So there's different kinds of
Is this like a cross-chain DEX or something?
We call it a cross-chain swap. You're swapping an asset on one chain, and it
just routes it through the DEXs and returns you what you want.
You're getting it on the other chain. In this fashion, though, what happens is like you don't have a bridge that holds all the coins.
Yeah, that's good.
That's important because, like, the bridge over to Matic, for example, there's just like millions and millions and millions of dollars inside of there, and some guy or group of people has the keys to that. And every now and then in crypto, you hear, "Oh, a bridge got hacked." Sometimes it's not a hack. Right? Sometimes they just steal it or whatever happens. Okay. That's the risk of having this weird pool of stuff in a bridge that some other people control the keys to. So with a cross-chain router, still your keys, still your coins, still completely decentralized, and you don't have any of that risk. And we're going to call this like a super highway into PulseChain.
So I have a question. If so let's say I want to go from like PulseChain to like a Cosmos blockchain. I'm guessing you would just you could get like wrapped ETH, like send it to like swap it onto Cosmos. Now, when you want to go back to ETH, do you input the address and then what does it say? Is it just say like wormhole or something like that to come back?
No, this doesn't use wormhole. So if you go to multichain.org, and then click on docs, you can read the synopsis of how it all works.
I was just going to say, because like a lot of times, like if you do that and you're doing like cross chain, it's not really traceable.
I don't know about the traceability. I'm not sure.
Which is well, because you're like, you think about it, like a 0x address doesn't exist on like Cosmos, right? So when when you use those things, you have to like input your address. Whereas like if you're bridging from ETH to Matic or ETH to any other EVM, then it's basically, you know, like it's the same address, so it doesn't ask you. So when you have to say your address, then when you look on like Etherscan, it'll just say that it just like it basically came from nowhere. Like you click the transaction.
Right.
So some people might like that. It's not privacy, but it is.
Right. We think this is important. Of course, there's other bridge solutions, right, that have a handful of tokens on there.
Is there other things just like this that had issues, or is this the only cross-chain router? Or are there other ones?
Well, Cosmos is doing some really interesting things to try and connect all the different blockchains. But their technology is like so advanced, and I wouldn't even begin to be able to tell people how it works. Multi-chain used to be called AnySwap, and then they changed their name. AnySwap, they're the biggest entity in the bridging industry. They're like billions and billions of dollars flows through multi-chain all the time. Like if you go from here to ETH to Binance right now, you're probably using multi-chain. If you go to Phantom Chain or Avalanche Chain.
So what's the team up happening with Power City and them? You guys are just helping them integrate the stuff?
Yeah, So we've helped them integrate, and we've spooled up some nodes to facilitate that, right? Nice. And yeah, so we've
Is there like a multi-chain coin? Do they get any percentage or anything?
Maybe for node operators there are, but the way I think people can brand their swappers or their bridges however they want to. So I think an example of that would be Spooky Swap from like the Phantom Chain. You click the bridge button and it's the Spooky Swap bridge, but then in real fine print at the bottom it says a product of multi-chain, and you can click that, right? So it's just like a rebranded thing. And then Spooky Swap does have their own coin. So once you partner with them, like you can call it whatever you want and make whatever coin you want to.
Do you need a special use license by them, similar to the UV3 for Uniswap? Or can anybody just open source, do what they want with this code?
I'm not sure about that.
Because I remember any chain back in the day, I didn't know they changed to multi-chain.
Any swap is no multi-chain.
Yeah, I'll have to read up more on it. Seems interesting.
So that's not the only thing that Power City is doing. Of course, there's a tool for liquid loans as well. So for people who haven't played with liquid loans on testnet, it's fully functional. It works great. It's awesome. But the front end that you use over there, everything's completely 100% manual. If you want to claim rewards from the stability pool, you have to claim them, and then you have to decide what you're going to do with those because they're liquid in your wallet. So if you want to recompound those into the staking pool, or take your Pulse and go put it, have it purchase HEX for you or something like that, you're just clicking all over the place, which is how everything normally works in crypto. If you have rewards on PulseX, it's very similar. It's like, oh, look at these rewards I'm earning. Claim, and you're like, oh, sweet, they're liquid in my wallet. What do I do with them now? Well, our front end, you have some buttons in there that you've pre-selected where you've pre-selected what you want to happen to your rewards, and you can just hit the claim all button, and it automatically does what you've already pre-selected those things to do. So every day you could just go in and say, oh, look at all these rewards, claim, bam, it'll take your rewards from this pool and put it over here, recompound it for you, take this, go over here, purchase Pulse for you,
in like one transaction?
In one transaction, right? One click. Or you can also have it auto compound for you. There's a caveat to the if you have a loan position in your strategy, you're going to have to be at 500% collateral level if you choose to have it auto compound for you to run your choices every day for you. Some people could consider, oh, okay, I'm going to go on vacation mode. Let me up my collateral ratio, have this thing auto compound for a few days for me. You could do a whole bunch of stuff inside of there. And it just makes it's still liquid loans. It's still all the liquid loans contracts. with just a few additional contracts that make all this work. So that we've got that running on Gurley testnet. It'll be available for public testnet on PulseChain just as soon after Liquid Loans launches their next update. They're going to do another. A lot of people who have been playing on testnet said, "Hey, what if you had this slider bar thing here, or what if you did this?" So they're updating their front end, and they're also going to do another update on their contracts and relaunch a new testnet. So once we get those contract numbers, we'll be able to launch our front end for the community to play with.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the strategies don't have admin keys, I'm happy to see.
It's still your keys, your coins. You create the strategy. You can exit those strategies. We don't control the money. It's literally your smart contract. And we don't know if we're gonna enable this feature on the front end or not, but we've been talking about a whole lot. We have put it out there to the community that's a possibility. Imagine if you built a cool strategy. You know, maybe your rewards all go into HEX, okay? Or maybe your rewards a little bit goes here and a little whatever, right? You're running a strategy. Well, that strategy is actually packaged as an NFT, okay? So perhaps you can sell that strategy on a secondary market. You can sell your entire package with all the rewards and all the value inside of it, almost like this. Oh, there's $200,000 in here, and it's just constantly running the strategy. You could take that entire package, and it could go to another wallet, and you could sell it through a secondary market. So you can have an entire.
You can have like a yield producing NFT and show what's producing the yield, and it's tradable as opposed to being like, here, copy my strategy with your money. You could just say, here's the strategy. You can buy it with your money.
Correct. Now, earlier we talked about some of the problems in financial markets. So I came from the Liquid Loans team. Remember when all the times I was teaching people that the USDL is fully backed and redeemable because all the collateral is always there. So on the Power City team, we said, well, we need to take that concept without the pegging contracts, without the mechanisms that allow for the arbitrage for the peg. And we need to combine this with Uniswap and build a completely new swap function that has never been built before, that alleviates all those things about liquidity depth. And it's really this is really intriguing. Anybody else could build this thing too, but you have to do it with a brand new coin. You can't do it with pre-existing coins. And the way this thing works, you have this thing that looks like Uniswap, where you bring something in you want to swap out of, and it's going to give you the other token, okay? The other token doesn't exist in the pool. It's not even there. It mints itself out of thin air when you deposit the money, just like USDL does, no different. When you do that swap, that collateral goes into, it's not really collateral, but it goes into the LP on the other side, and the protocol mints out of thin air. It's similar to the adoption amplifier too. It'll mint out of thin air the coin to you, and it'll give it to you. Now this, you would first say, well, that's inflation constantly. How are you not diluting each other? When you do this, it still ratchets up at a 0.3%, and there's still slippage that occurs. So every consecutive coin is still more expensive than the next. But instead of the value of the coins on one side of the pool being worth what's on the other side of the pool, instead it's the value of all the circulating supply is what's in the pool. And it always stays that way. And there's no admin keys, and it's completely immutable. Nobody can rug it. It's simply run by smart contracts. So the value is always contained inside of the DEX or inside of the automated market maker. And when people swap back out, and as these coins burn themselves, the fee still applies, right? So even when it gives back that pulse or whatever people use to swap into the coin, that fee stays in the pool. So there's an ever increasing price floor forever. So
Are you talking about infinite liquidity?
infinite liquidity. That
So that's
grows.
what Wise did, and they got wrecked. There's
No,
like
no,
hundreds of millions in there. Price doesn't move, but down.
You're talking about lock liquidity that was brought in from the beginning.
So you're
It's
not
different.
that.
You literally could start with 0, okay, and it's just like liquid loans. Not a single USDL exists.
It's more comparison to like what Dodeca did, right? Where like Dodeca just was like slowly adding liquidity, like the proof of weak hands thing, without the other side.
So look, it's just like liquid loans. You put up some Pulse as collateral essentially, and you mint yourself USDL.
But yeah,
Okay.
but if you code something into using an AMM, you're like almost locking that smart contract, that code into using that technology forever because you can't transfer it, I guess.
Here's what it prevents.
You'd be locked into that old system.
Look, here's what it prevents. It prevents the possibility of paper gains. All the value that's ever out there is in the pool. It's all there. Now you can still realize price appreciation if you're one of the early guys, of course.
It sounds like no pump to me. That's all.
No,
It's like if there's no paper gains, then what? I put in 100, you put in 100. There's still 100 in there, just 200, I guess.
Still moves at the same formulas as it does on Uniswap.
The price would still move because, like, I guess like what you're thinking is like, for example, Wise, and like so Wise had like the token launch kind of like the AA, and then all of it went in initially, so it just barely ever moved, and then it could never move. So I guess what he's saying is like incremental, like kind of like I was explaining, like with Dodeca or like these proof of weak hands. It's like every transaction, like a little bit is added to the liquidity pool, a little bit is added, so those things can still pump. Versus like something that starts with 1,000 ETH or 2,000 ETH, like it's never going to go anywhere.
Yeah, this will pump and pump and pump. Now, once there's like, I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars in there or something, and it's super thick, yeah, it will slow down. That's how, unless you get whales that continue. Yes,
like,
as the liquidity
free
grows,
market actors add
down.
liquidity
That's
already.
how all crypto works.
Like, why do you have to
Imagine
programmatically add
Uniswap
liquidity when you could just have market decide?
Here's why. That's why a lot of crypto has all the volatility it does, because the LP guys just keep withdrawing all the money. Right? So as you're purchasing, cool, the liquidity is growing, but the LP guys just exit their position constantly, which is what creates everybody else with the paper gains, and they can't get out if they wanted to. So with this protocol-owned liquidity that always remains there, look, if people wanted to back out of their position, they can be fully confident that if they wanted to sell, the money's there for them to get their collateral, to get some of that value back out of that liquidity pool, instead of there being nothing there because an LP guy just ran off with it. And it still operates on the same or similar curve to Uniswap in the price action. And the value of the pool is the value of all the tokens in circulation.
Yep, it's all just imaginary until we take profits.
Somebody,
I'd have
Randy,
to
always advises taking
Think about
profits.
that more.
Always take profits.
Now, this model only works with new coins. You can't take an old coin and it's literally impossible. But that's how the Watt token for Power City is going to work. There's a staking function for the Watt token as well.
I sacked for that one.
And that's an interesting concept too, right? Because you're staking, you're collecting the fees. There's no inflation or anything. So as the fees go up, as more people use the stuff, the fees go down as less people use it. So completely sustainable. But there is a T-share sort of thing built in. Early still pays better. You enter the staking pool with a quantity of Watt tokens. You stake them. And as people enter on later days, your share rate, your percentage of the pool goes up little slivers. Okay, you keep capturing a bigger percentage of the pool. Now, if you decide to end stake, however, you only get back your original token count. So you lose all the benefits you had from growing. When you end stake, you literally just get back your original quantity of tokens, which may have had some price appreciation, may have gone the wrong direction. Who knows, right? So instead, also, because it's packaged as an NFT, this is just like Watsa token, or Watsa rather. you could just take that NFT and go sell it on a secondary market for more than the underlying tokens if you've been staked for a while. So if you get in on day one and you're like, you've been in there for 3 months or 6 months, your share rate has increased that whole time. Nobody's ever going to unstake, because literally the value of those is more than if you hit the unstake button and get the original tokens back. Just sell them on the secondary market. And it's completely sustainable because it's only collecting the fees. There's no inflation. It's just the fees, which are always paid in Pulse for anything you ever do.
Right. I mean, I think some of the backlash people get about getting instant liquidity for these positions and stuff is people will sell too early, and that's kind of the benefit of the original HEX stakes still, is that you're in. That's what you're waiting for till you can unstake that stuff. And so that's what hardened the community early on, I think, is like, I can't leave it all to Richard to pump my bags. We gotta just get everybody to know about this stuff, because we're gonna be here for 15 years. We want people to know about it. But whenever you get into something where you're like, well, I wrapped it up and I can just sell it at a premium at a 2x in 2 weeks, and you're like, but then you're out of your position, and then you miss out on all the gains of crypto, which is the whole point of getting into HEX in the first place, is to get in all the long-term gains of crypto. So it's like a poison pill. All this like wrapping and being able to sell your liquid stuff or your illiquid stuff, it's like a double-edged sword. So I'm still like in the middle on it. I don't know what you guys think.
That's why I only do, like, when you're talking about the wrap, like the HSI stakes and things like that, I only do a small portion HSI because I got weak hands. Like, I can't trust myself.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people they'd be like, "Yo, dude, I'll just get the extra gains in the premium and then not sell it. I'll just do that." And you'll find that some people will not be able to hold themselves accountable. Like that end stake emergency thing was genius by Richard. People are like, "I'm gonna hold this until it accumulates till the end." If you're not waiting to the end, then people get weak hands, man.
Well, some people will still sell, because check it out. Maybe you have an NFT and it's a staking thing, and you go put it up on Pixel Park, and it's like, oh, okay, this thing has been sitting here for sale for a week. Nobody's paying what I'm asking for yet. Go ahead. Maybe that you get impatient or whatever. Sure, you're welcome to unstake and go dump your tokens, or you go swap them, sell them back, and burn them and get back some of that collateral that's in that pool. But there's also comfort in knowing that that pool is there, and that there's just not zero liquidity on that side if you chose to do that. So it's that thing. This whole mechanism is literally just taking Uniswap and liquid loans, taking these two concepts and kind of put them into a system that we believe is sustainable. And then the tools of Power City are like supercharging, bringing people to PulseChain, right? We have to have a bridge to 68 blockchains. If we can get 68 blockchains to realize their blockchains suck.
That's so many blockchains, dude. I can't even name like 20 blockchains. What are the 68 coming from? That's a joke. There's not. It's also like power law distribution about how much liquidity and volumes on all these. Like, what's the 68th worst volume chain out there? Like, I'm curious what that one, like that one on the list. Are like, yeah, we're number 68 on the list. Do they have any users? So there's really only the ETH chain is the best thing to fork in my opinion and stuff. So I'm glad we're going with that user base, because they're the ones getting the biggest airdrop, and they have the biggest user base. It's like, do you want to clone the YouTube community, or do you want to clone, I don't know, MySpace now or something? You're like, well, nobody's on MySpace anymore. That'd be a bad clone. Don't even include them in the calculation of who gets it.
So some of these chains have niches, though, right? So from what I've observed on like the fandom chain, there's a lot of like Olympus DAO type forks over there. People, I don't know why, but
they're still doing them. They like it's the same with the SafeMoon stuff. They're like, hey, we'll do it our way.
Yeah, they all get wrecked, okay, but they keep forking and just making. And for some reason, it feels like Phantom Chain is like the place for all that. So okay, they've got their name. Nice. We want them to. Yeah, maybe we want them to learn about HEX and come over onto our chain, right? But then Binance has all the shit coins. So it's like, well, now we got to get all those guys in. They're all like how do you get them in? lure them over with dog coins and stuff? I don't know, right? But we need to have an avenue that's direct right to them, so it's easy for them to come to PulseChain.
You guys are almost up to 250 viewers here.
Oh yeah. Well, I think Cabana's been trying to get to that one next point for a while.
It's quite all right. If y'all, I mean, we're not really losing many, so keep going. But yeah, I don't know how long you guys are available for, so I'd like to cover all the topics. But
I'm ready.
You guys can go for a while. Awesome. But yeah,
anyway, I feel guilty
I love talking with the HEX community. It's the best community out there.
It is the best.
A couple more items on the list. Let's get this Wreckfest out of the way. So I'm going to put a link in chat for Fumble Fridays, which just turned out to be an absolute disaster. So Paul Sachs and Randy Hilarski were already in the finals at week 3, which is unheard of because of how bad everybody picked. And they both lost. So they have the opportunity to play against each other in week 4. But what I did at the bottom of this link that I'm putting in chat there, if you go to a bottom tab, there's a section next to 2022 picks. It's called 2022 4 more weeks. So we're going to do another fresh one, and hopefully everybody can, go longer and we can keep that going. Link is in the chat. I will just try to bring it up here really quick before we get on to the final topic. And
oh no, I clicked chat 69.xyz instead.
Oh, hey girl, how you doing?
.exe.
There was a friendly fire death last week. I forget who it was, but Marion and a few others nuked a Hexagon for a brief period of time. But yeah, the middle tab, you have Paul versus Randy here in week 4. And then the bottom tab, all the way to the right, just put your name here in this column A, and then choose from one of these teams over here. You can pick once. All the rules are right here. They're very simple. Pick one team. You get, burn them once, and then that's it. So link is in the chat. And let's have some fun with this for maybe much more than 4 weeks. But hey, Randy and Paul, you guys are still going. Anyway, last topic of the evening on this list. And to me, it's one of the absolutely most interesting things because I guess it could have different ramifications depending upon how you look at it. So Richard kind of shook things up 2 days ago, simply putting, and not allowing comments. Have a cryptocurrency exchange with a fiat on-ramps and off-ramps. Do you want to sell it? Sell it? DM me if so. So that is obviously, if that were to ever happen, be a game changer. I guess the first place to start is
Robin Hart.
He was looking at initially, I guess, building it and going his own route, but I think the licensing, just that whole process wrecked that.
Yeah, you already have users. It's better to just get something that's already established. Like Elon Musk, right? He doesn't just build a new Twitter. You try to buy Twitter, right? Like that's just a better value proposition.
They're all the same, though. I think it's interesting because let's say you buy an exchange. All those hot wallets, all those cold wallets have seed phrases. You're going to have to somehow buy everyone out, buy all the users out, create new seed phrases, new wallets, right? Put the funds all back in there and then invite everyone back. Otherwise, you run the risk of buying an exchange and somebody else has the keys somewhere. Would you agree?
Well, don't they just send all the funds they have to your owned? Like if I bought it, I'd be like, send the stuff from your cold wallets to my cold wallets that I've created.
Yeah, but
then they don't have control anymore. They're not just giving you the keys and you're like, thanks, hope you don't have a copy of those.
Right, but you've got all those order books that are currently active and running all over the place.
They probably have to pause trading.
The exchange certainly owns a lot of the trading volume, you would think, right? So like, how do you back all that out and transfer that over to a new person easily? I think it's probably pretty complicated.
They pause trading on exchanges sometimes. You can pause trading. Binance does it all the time. Binance will say like, pausing, X, Y, or Z. Like it's doable.
That's the power of a centralized exchange.
Yeah,
Everyone's
exactly.
at
You can do whatever you want.
your
What do you
whim, dude.
Yeah.
You can turn it off and that's it. And then you turn it back on when it's all good.
These exchanges, do you ever notice how they all look identical to each other almost?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's like, it's got to be like open source software. And it's like, you just,
Off the shelf stuff. He's talked
And
about
you
it. He's like, yo, I can make an exchange. I can fill out paperwork. It's not hard. He can create it, but getting these licenses maybe saves time going through some government. Oh, please let me be a licensed exchange for waiting.
That's
if
what we
buy
did.
it, you own it. Yeah.
I was on the Mandala team, Mandala Exchange, and all we did was get a licensed Binance. They're their first licensed Binance exchange. And it was so simple. Had all their liquidity and everything pulled right over from Binance. So, yeah, it can be done.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think it's just part of the end game is like, hey, yeah, it'll probably be a better experience for onboarding people, instead of having to go to Gemini or Coinbase as like US Citizen or somewhere else around the world. If Richard builds it or runs it, it'll probably be one of the best places to onboard people to get fiat into the system. Like we still haven't solved get my fiat from my bank into crypto without going through centralized exchange. There's like ATM, terrible fees, or bad fees with credit card, or OTC, and then you need like connections and stuff. So it's a part of the system we need still. I don't think some people were like, oh, you're not going to have PulseX anymore? He's not going to launch the DEX? I'm like, are you guys trolling? The DEX, he literally called DEXs a miracle and better than Bitcoin. Do you think he's like changed his mind? Sexes are the future?
Well,
No.
Is it really just about onboarding through like on-ramping? Right. So how long has Coinbase been around? Like a long time, right?
Be a good bridge too.
Right, long time. And you could say, wow, they're not really they're not a leverage trading platform. They're not really there for swapping back and forth. They're kind of there to introduce people into crypto and also serve as an outlet, like to get people. Like you can easily send off to your own private.
Plus, you can advertise apparently.
But those kind of exchanges are very different than leverage trading ones, right? With futures markets and all that sort of thing. And we have heard Richard say, well, if people are going to do it anyway, it might as well be me. So that narrative doesn't really jive with hearing him say for 2 years, not your keys, not your coins, you're going to get wrecked. And then,
but if it's either way, not your coins, not your crypto, and you have no choice, you get to choose the person who has control at least, not subject to whatever is available. I'd rather have a better options. So I'm all for better options. If it's not a perfect option,
is that the same as saying not your keys, not your coins? Don't use these exchanges unless it's mine. Then I'll have the keys and coins.
Well, it's not the same because like all of us like go in and go out through those. So the difference would be don't leave them on there.
Yeah, it's not.
But we still have.
But he'll put himself out of business if he keeps pushing that narrative.
He said he could like run it for free basically and outdo these guys. So I think he's in it for. He could probably just run it at a loss for a while, like taking market share. So it's all how he wants to play it. I still think it's a better option than some of the other ones out there. Like Sam Bankman-Fried is heading up. If you believe any of that stuff that BitBoy was saying about it, they're trying to pass a law that breaks DEXs and makes it illegal to trade as a U.S. citizen on DEXs. And that's one of the options of like the top exchanges. I think I'd rather somebody else heading stuff and investing in other legislature, not making it illegal for U.S. citizens to use DEXs would be a start.
Well, if he wants to play the game with these other huge guys out there, he's going to have to do the whole integral, he's going to have everything. He's going to have
There's going to be a coin that reduces fees on the platform, stuff like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Or sell his soul to the Illuminati.
Because USDL is immutable, he's going to have to just use that, right? And then, the blockchain will be here soon enough. Then you've got HEX, you've got all these PulseX. Once he has all that, then it's like, okay, we've got.
What if it's a buy-only exchange? You can only buy it and then send it off into the DeFi land. No, I guess then you wouldn't have a way out either. You'd have to go to a different exchange. So
doesn't Solana have like
selling?
Doesn't Solana have like decentralized exchanges too? So like, wouldn't he be killing that? That's interesting.
I did see there's like some other form of targeted liquidity code that's for some Solana AMMs that I don't think is licensed by V3 Uniswap. Like they came up with some other thing. So I was looking into that. So I don't know if we can copy similar stuff. But also Uniswap, they've also allowed certain, like I was checking their proposals, and they've passed several where they allow people to get the right to use it early. Like they've got it deployed on Moonbeam, Gnosis Safe. They got
Moonbeam.
They got Volts or whatever. They got the grant executed. So people are applying for it, and then they get voted for it. And I don't know if we'd get it, but if we won it early, it's an option. We got 7 months. So.
Have you used Moonbeam?
I have not used Moonbeam.
That's one of the. That's probably number 68 on the list.
Is it?
What the heck is that, Chain? Is there even anything there? I don't know.
I thought it was Tron. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know much about Moonbeam. There was other Moon things. There was like Mooniswap and stuff like that. There was so many things trying to be Uniswap back in the day. And Sushi Swap. And then that thing basically went to zero because the guy like exit scammed with all the sushi and was like, oh, I didn't think anyone would care if I dropped 11 million or 7 million or whatever it was. And then Sam Bankman-Fried comes in with the team and they bootstrap all of sushi at the bottom after it dropped like 90+%, 95+% below $1. And then they pumped all this development into it. Stuff was actually getting created, and then it mooned. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna have that crazy dipping, at least in PulseX, unless some like crazy FUD comes out. It's a bit different than these other things where they try to do fair launches, where if you provide liquidity, you got a percentage of the initial supply. That's how they used to call a fair launch. I think I like the sacrifice method a lot better. It's very similar to the ETH ICO, and that price did great. So I like that.
Every blockchain does great. It could be a blockchain nobody uses, like ETH Classic, and that's $100, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
Every blockchain does great. Like, there's always going to be a user base and stuff, and ours is going to do great. I think having all this stuff being built on it is like the biggest, most powerful tool to get people over. You know, it would be one thing if it launched empty, and it's like, oh, okay, there's like 2 natively launched things over there, HEX and PulseX. But because there's tools and look, there's gambling stuff that people are building. There's stablecoin stuff. There's people are running nodes. They're just going to be displaying data, charts, and stuff that's going on in the chain. And really soon after launch, like within a week, it's going to be like, holy cow, why is there so much stuff on this chain already?
Yep.
Compare that to these other forks that just happened. And it's like,
Nothing.
oh, okay, nothing's really happening. Maybe a little bit here. There's this NFT platform that's kind of popping up. Oh, they finally figured out how to bridge stable coins. But it's like a slow thing. And because PulseChain's taking so long, to the people who are worried because it's taking so long, be happy it's taking this long. Because all that means is all of these people will have hundreds and hundreds of things that people will want to come play with on the chain. And all of those things will be pumping Pulse because people have to acquire it as a gas token.
Yeah. And on that Pulse front, I wanted to ask one more question. Randy, you might have to go, or how long do you got, man?
Oh, I got about 10 minutes or so.
Okay. Last question, I guess, on this topic. To anybody who wants it, would this process, in pure opinion, of buying a crypto exchange, would that further delay PulseChain?
No.
Okay.
I don't think he'd let it delay it. I don't think it's necessary.
I mean, it's a reasonable question.
He doesn't want the bridge day one anyway. So
The
like
delay-
having the exchange up and running is kind of like a bridge day one. Could give it value. So it's almost wouldn't want it to be at the same time.
And the delay could be a good thing, right? Like, so you know, the White House has said that the crypto regulations are supposed to come in around February and say what they want to do. The thing is, it's not launched yet, right? So like, if he was to tweak something, he could tweak something to make it better. If it's already launched, you're kind of like, you might be like shooting yourself in the foot by launching a little early. So, I mean, personally, I'd rather him see what they're saying and then maybe be able to like, bend things around regulations if he needs to, than to launch it just a couple. I mean, because we're talking a few months, right? Like February is not that far away. So I kind of want to see what, hopefully the Republicans sweep and we get out, Gary Gensler and, and look, I'm not saying that the Republicans are going to put somebody in that's better, but Gary Gensler is like, everything's a security. You know what I mean? Like, so hopefully we get somebody better than him.
Hey, you know what? I have a nice little graphic while you mentioned that there, Wendy's. Right on topic. Things I trust more than Gary Gensler.
Dude, really? Oh man.
Perfect.
Well, number 1, Flint, Michigan tap water. Number 2, gas station sushi. I'm saying this for the people who listen and don't watch. Number 3, Bill Cosby as the bartender. Oh man. All right. 4, Taco Bell bathrooms. Number 5, Tom Brady putting air in my tires.
Nice.
Football joke. Number 6, a shark with a pet me sign. Number 7, a North Korean trial. Number 8, a shot from Dr. Kevorkian. Number 9, Casey Anthony daycare. Oh boy.
God, we went there, didn't we?
Boo. That's like the setup for the last one, which is usually lamer than the big setup. And number 10, a fart when I have diarrhea are the things that I trust more than Gary Gensler. So
Did you just find this online, or did someone in the
I gotta
community
give
make
props to Kinetics. He tweeted it yesterday or today. So
Or the U.S. saying they didn't blow up the pipelines.
there you go. Add that in there as well.
That that was interesting.
I'm blaming Shemitah personally.
Yeah, holy Shemitah.
Shemitah.
I mean, one thing that was
Maybe,
pretty cool that happened in the last week or so was all that Maximus DAO stuff locking up hundreds of millions of HEX. That's pretty good.
It was over $1 billion, right? Did they reach $1 billion?
I think in total they were like 1.14 billion or something from including Maximus HEX and all that. I think that's what it was, because I did a tweet on it. It was like, yo, if we did a similar amount to the Bitcoin amount, it'd be billions of dollars being locked away into the future. Because I was assuming we're only using like 10% of the HEX supply is like user owned, so I had to like 10x the number. But yeah, that's pretty good. That's got to be good for HEX price. You're moving large percentage of potential sellable supply into the future. Seems good. Less supply available now, more price up, hopefully. I think it's just we are really priming the pump right now. Like all this stuff, locking up HEX and people sacrificing, people holding on to their money to buy at the launch of PulseChain. All that is like huge, big pump stuff coming. And we're still washing out people in the market, like NFTs all the way down and stuff. So I think we are nearing that worst part of the bear market. But then there can also be that delayed, long, bumpy bottom of nothing's really happening, still getting bored out here. No. So we're all still waiting for that Fed rate to go down. It's basically what it is.
This is still the most exciting bear market ever.
Oh, it's way better than the 2017-18 one by myself in like old telegrams with people trading and whatnot. That's what I was doing in 2018 and 2017.
I believe that fresh capital strategies brought into, have some fresh capital ready to bring into PulseChain are going to be infinitely superior to any copies and ratio trading and just going back and forth between even RH ecosystem stuff that you could possibly get. Because remember, for every PulseX that you're swapping because you want to accumulate Pulse, you've got the guys who already have a bunch of Pulse that are like, oh, sweet, look at this dip. So they're just going to be swapping back. So you might just find ratio trading, it's just a wash at the end. And if you had all your copied over stuff, and that's all you had, and you don't have any fresh capital when PulseChain launches, you might, cry later when have some fresh capital ready to go. That's where the deals usually come from.
Got a whole lot ready.
Yeah. Like dollar value wise, you'll be able to get a lot more of the supply percentage wise. That's what that awesome video I had was about. It's like you get this 150x better intro to this ecosystem, and most of the tokens on it, you just get a better rate if you bring in new dollars. Because we can figure out the price of what Pulse and PulseX kind of should be from what people paid. And so you can actually, percentage wise of the supply, comparative to like Ethereum and Uniswap and stuff like that, you can actually get way larger percentages from new dollars coming in until we reach up to those levels of the value of those of like Pulse to Ethereum and stuff like that. So there's that huge potential there for growth.
What if we have another God Whale event and I got a good story for it because I only bought HEX in the AA the first 10 days, right? And then I forgot about my HEX. I didn't pay attention until the God Whale came back. I just said, okay, maybe I lost money here, and it was just trending down, trending down, trending down. All of a sudden, the God Whale comes in and pumps it. Now, if I would have DCA'd during that whole time with fresh capital, holy crap. You know, I could have been a shark or maybe even a whale. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe DCAing with new dollars into like Pulse and PulseX early on at launch could be a huge play, along with possibly HEX on PulseChain that's got room to run. Like we saw people getting Pulse on ETHW for what, it ran up 50x or something in a day. So why wouldn't PulseChain do it harder? Unless that ratio fixing from the fixer bot changes things too much. I'd have to think about it more.
Yeah, too fast of a run up. Like there's, like we already heard earlier, there's a lot of people that just want this thing to launch because they want to get money out and dump. So like if we have 50x in like day one, it's gonna go right back down again.
Oh yeah, well that's the same thing that happened to like Ethereum when it launched. It was like instantly up 10x from what everybody paid, and everyone's like, "What? Free 10x? Sell it down 80% guys." And then it went up and did 50x, and so you're like, "Oh, so." Selling at 10x was stupid unless you rebought the bottom, and a lot of people they sell and they're like and then they miss the next pump. You're out for good. You will never get that return or outpace it again. No one ever who sold Bitcoin early at $1 has ever invested in something else and did better.
Dan Emmons has
Just
been
didn't do
salty
better.
ever since.
So you'll never get that opportunity again, basically.
What if you just like never look at those wallets? Like just forget about. Maybe bring fresh capital.
The sacrifice addresses?
With the sacrifice wallets, just forget about them for like the next 2 years.
No joke, probably best strategy.
Well, you've already forgot about
people
it.
I'm not
Year.
touching mine.
The people who sold their ETH early, even for other things, unless they rolled it back into ETH, they probably got into something that scammed them, did worse, isn't around anymore. And what did they gain from it? Oh, knowledge to not do that again. That's basically what they learned. Or,
Brady's
something came along that was actually better tech. Those are the rare things in crypto. Like the people who rolled Bitcoin into Ethereum, and then they do like, what is that, 2000x? Because you used to be 2000 for one, and now it's not that, or I guess it's not 2000x versus Bitcoin. It's more like hundreds of x or something, but still pretty crazy. Yeah, and then rolling those multiplied gains from the best performing thing into the next best thing. That's just the best thing you can do in crypto. Is just keep rolling into the real best next projects.
You know what I sold? I got paid 400 ETH in 2016 for helping Arcade City do their launch, and then I sold all of that ETH to pay for a trip to the Latin American Bitcoin conference. So you want to talk about wasting money?
Well, Richard says he like spent 600 Bitcoin on some mining rigs early on. And was like, yeah, wish I held the coins. Lol, like it was not worth it. Almost trading anything is a bad idea. So.
And that's the conference where Tone Vase told me I shouldn't be working with Dan Larimer because he was a scammer. So
yeah. Danny Boy, I currently have zero capital to deploy, trying to save up fiat for launch, but I need time working 9 to 5, like 2 months. Yeah, I mean, we said it on this show before. Wendy's has said it many times. Like, this is the time to build that fiat and invest it in DCA in. Maybe even look at it, nothing guaranteed, of course, but looking at your fiat like multiple times years out, what that could be worth. So you are working for multiple times the fiat that you are earning now, if you can get that and invest it now in DCA. Yes. So,
I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have worked 80 hours a week if I wasn't like, man, I'm making like 5 G's a day. Like, I was so tired, but I was just like, mentally, I was just thinking like that. I'm like, man, who wouldn't go in for $5,000 a day? Right.
Yep. And this is the time to do it. Like the absolute time, pretty much has already started, in my opinion, and we'll see how low we go. But once the train leaves the station, you want to be on it. So
yeah, I mean, if you put in $50, if you think of it as like the end value, or after lots of appreciation, you're actually investing. If you got into HEX at the bottom, that $50 turned into 500,000. So what, you can't put $50 in change your life forever. Like that's the stuff in crypto. That's why I think getting security right. It's why it's my pinned video on Twitter. Protect your keys. This stuff goes up a lot, way more than it goes down. I don't care what. Like you got to have the stuff secure, and you got to hold the stuff for the long term. So whatever helps you manage those two things, you'll do well. Just don't hold scams to zero, basically.
Freddie Quotes said whale-sack wallets aren't likely to let the price dip. You never know what other guys are going to do, right? You have no idea.
Maybe they'll introduce the fear by letting it go lower, and no one thought it would.
Right.
You know?
There you go.
Maybe
So
they want
it's-
more. Maybe they
want
want
more. Yeah.
Now
It's risky
they
though.
can let the
'cause-
price go lower than the smaller guys can before they're below their sacrifice price, right? Because they got a better rate. But
yeah, they
also,
can- yeah.
if a guy's got like 30 million, does he need to hold for a double before he starts taking some profits or doing some sort of strategy? Or, it goes up and he's like, oh, I'm up $10 million. Let me take some of this out. Where like a smaller guy, that's not good enough. The guy who put in $100, that's the guy who wants to hold, for 1,000x or a 10,000x. Where a big giant guy with 30 mil or something, he doesn't need a 10,000x to get uber amounts of money, and be.
That's
happy.
why you have the volatility, and that's why so many people get shaken out. I mean, how many people got shaken out on the run up with HEX? I mean, there was many dips that were pretty gnarly.
I sold my HEX.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, that was yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh
lost
my
so many
God.
people along the way, and it's going to happen again. Like people think that there's not going to be volatility in Pulse and PulseX. Like, yeah, absolutely,
there will be.
You're going to have whales that sell, and some of these guys, like they do it intentionally to try to buy even more coins. Because you have a lot of time. I mean, between now and the peak of the bull, there's much time. So you're going to see volatility. That's how crypto works. Just remember that when the bottom is in. So in a bull market, right, it's buy the dip, and in a bear market, it's sell the rip, right? So when you have like these bear rallies, a lot of times you can take profits and then rebuy lower. But we're approaching the season of time to buy the dip again and get long on crypto. So just be ready. It's going to be a wild ride.
Dude, if you're the last guy holding all the PulseX, like everyone else sold all theirs and LP'd it away or something, if you're the last guy who owns it, whatever the volume of that, if it does $1 billion a day in volume on PulseX, the DEX,
It's like
per
you own
year, you
PulseX.
could be selling like the smallest smidgen of PulseX into the LP pool because the bot will buy it no matter what the price. And so it's going to be injecting value into the pool that you can extract. And so you'll be minting like $219 million a year. If you own the PulseX on $1 billion of volume a day. That's pretty enticing. So, and over time, like over 15-year span, like $3 billion of buy pressure, if there's similar to Uniswap volume. And we already saw DEXs 8x their volume in a year from 2020 to 2021. And so it's like, okay, so it 8x already. This allows people to trade like peer-to-peer without middlemen. This is huge technology that's still in its infancy. This stuff's going to grow like by many more multiples over the next 15 years, I think, in overall DEX volume. And if we capture a tenth of that, it could still be at, Uniswap's volume today. So that's why I did the 1 billion per day. So if billions of dollars are coming in to buy one thing and you can buy it early before the billions come, that price has got to go up, right? Like, I don't see how PulseX doesn't do well,
It's going to happen. There's no better community at onboarding than us. I mean, we're going to have the Million Pulse tour is going to be going around the whole country. We got, great guys like Brian Magruder handing out the metal, PulseChain, HEX cards. Like when this thing is out, the bottom is in and QE is going. It's going to be crazy. Like all of us are going to be shouting from like the top of the hills. You're going to be like, hey, get in, and then you're going to be like, man, remember when I told you, it was 0001? Like Pulse just hit 1 cent. PulseX just hit 1 cent, right? And they're going to be like, oh my god, where's it going? And you're like, man, I don't know, but I told you, you better get in. They're still printing money, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. Like it really is. I'm really excited for it. You just gotta. I always think of the Robert Downey Jr. In Tropic Thunder. Survive. That's all you got to do in a bear, man. Is just survive.
I just watched that yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was my first time
Excellent
watching it.
That movie is hilarious. Tom Cruise at the end, big dick swanging. That shit had me dying.
That was my favorite part of the whole thing. Is like the
Dude,
very end.
I was literally dying
theater?
at the end. Yeah, in the theater, I was like crying when he was doing that. I was like,
that was insane. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
guys,
gents.
I got to get going.
Yeah, as I say, we'll put a bow on it, and since you got to go, we'll show yourself first, there, Randy.
Yeah, you just follow me everywhere at Randy Hilarski, and I'm now live streaming Sunday night through Thursday night on my YouTube channel, Odyssey, and on Twitter. So check me out.
Wow.
That's called a.
Boom, he said,
golden
check me
exit.
out. I'm out.
Oh, okay, there. I did not do that. Okay.
Well,
You exited, Randy, but now you're back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was
How
weird.
that happened. K4K just left. All right.
Oh, I
what's
just
going
had a
on
connection issue there. Might have been StreamYard or something.
now?
Yeah, I
Hell
think it
is
was
going on?
StreamYard.
Yeah, Jesse's gone. Am I next? Oh God.
Who is next? All right. So we'll get
Yeah,
Jesse
join me
back
at
here.
11 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. East. Wait, is it 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern for Sunday nights through Thursday nights? That's when I live stream.
There you go. All right. Thank you, Randy.
Cheers, everyone.
See ya. For attendees, where can we find you?
At 4attendees on Twitter. Come hang out in the Legion VC Telegram. It's at Legion VC News. Always good discussion there. And just stay grinding, people. Keep your AirPods in while you're working and listening to some good alpha, and just keep making that shmoola.
Now is the time to grind.
It is.
You don't know
Yeah,
how much more grind time you got.
Every dollar now is worth like way more than it is at the top of the bull market.
Yep.
So it's
beautiful.
more important to be frugal now and invest now than ever before. So not financial advice, but that's
Well, if people
this is
did
how it
not-
usually goes.
If
Cycle.
people specifically did not want financial advice, what do you offer, and where would you offer such things?
Financial advice. Well, I
Not
wouldn't offer
financial.
any of that, but did you talk about cryptos and stuff
No,
I
I'm
like
talking
on
about perhaps where they can find you.
Yeah,
for
K4K
not
Crypto
financial.
on YouTube, K4K Crypto on Twitter. There's also a Discord group. I think there's almost 1,000 members there. We just started it up like 2 weeks ago. And yeah, you can ask questions in there. We get in voice chat sometimes. There's also a Telegram chat, t.me/Pulse Theory. And we have more serious discussion in there. It's not like you can sometimes get random help if you get lucky, nice people that day. But we try to talk about the more advanced theory stuff, figuring out what's best for like PulseChain launch and the best strategies for staying secure and safe and actually getting all these returns in crypto and not letting them slip through your fingers. That's kind of my ultimate goal, is to get as many people into crypto as possible, because it's just better money that's more fair for everyone involved, and everyone should have access to that. So I have to share my knowledge with people, or I feel bad. That's how.
That's very Richard
Okay.
Hart-esque of you, sir. Nice work. Just ask Jesse, where can we find you?
Yep, same name on Twitter. Look, I do say a lot of controversial things, but I try and do it from an educational point. Like I have to, like, I desperately want people to understand liquidity pools and what's actually happening with the money when you make a swap. Like, is it actually pumping the price? Are you buying into a sell wall? Is it thin on this side, thick on the other side, right? The more people understand all this stuff that's actually going on when all these coins are just flying around on these blockchains, the better, like, you'll make a sound decision for yourself, right? And
Are you doing a series on liquidity providing with V3? Because I'd watch.
well, I did one with Jim Rat Crypto like a week ago.
Yeah, I actually did watch that. It was good. But I think you do better to being able to explain it all how you see it by yourself
Okay.
in a video.
I
Like
did a
I'd
Twitter
just be
space.
interested. Or
I
your
did a Twitter space one a few days ago.
I get what you're saying. Like, just informational videos, like a DFED
Yeah.
video is just straight and to the point. It's just him and the screen kind of thing. And there's no back and forth. It's just him on topic. So
Right,
I
kind
can
of like
appreciate
showing what you're saying as you're doing it, so that people are like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so this person who provided
Yeah.
liquidity, this is what's happening with the buy wall. This is how price will move.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
You did kind of go
actually.
through that
So,
already, but I think
you
it
know
would
how
be
you
more
can-
clear and concise in one separate video.
Yep. You know how you can provide a position above the current price or below, either one, and you can set your range as wide as you want and as tall as you want. And stack up all the coins really tall. Well, it's interesting if you start using like the staking strategies of like laddering, and you can ladder positions, so the price can go move through ranges, and you can even overlap them a little bit, each one of your positions. And as the price moves through, every now and then you just look at them all and you're like, oh, okay, close, and you can close all these positions as the price moves through them.
Like, can't you get left behind doing that? Like, if you're doing one side and you set it up and it just blows through, and
you can,
you're
but
wrecked.
also if
No,
you
the
have,
price
if you have
has
one,
to.
if you have one order and you go like this, that's essentially a ladder because it's spreading it out throughout the whole range.
Right, but if you want to take those profits,
Mhm.
if your goal is to the other coin on the other side, if you're spread out really wide, you have to close that whole position and then recreate it and go back in and put it right in the exact same where you want it. But no,
that
the price
is true. But if you're talking about like a bullish asset, you kind of want to do that anyway, because then you want to you close it, you take the profits, and then you start from here and then spread it out even further. So you could do it like that too.
Like, if you could show me a guy who liquidity provided from the beginning of HEX at the bottom, and they did better than the guys who did nothing and just held their stuff and staked it and earned more trustlessly.
That is not a thing. I've said
So,
this
like,
a
if you
million
can't
times.
outperform that, then why even
You'll never outperform
show
holding and
that
staking.
strategy?
It's not possible.
True, but here's why. Eventually, you'll want to get some value out, and you have two choices when you decide to do that. Even if it's just your yields a little bit.
Right, as you scale out, you'll LP, but it's not a position someone new to the system comes in. They're like, I'm an LP and win harder. I don't think that's
it's not a thing. And I've
what
said
you
this.
should
I've
do.
said this a lot, and like people just don't get it. I'm like, for the small guys, for most people, it's just better to hold. Like, again, the whales, the people who have so much. If you have, again, 30 million in HEX, right? Like, you can't sell it. What do these guys do? They'll provide liquidity. So like one guy did 50 million on a sell order from 4 to 10 cents. Like, that's your option. Your option is that, or you push the price against yourself. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like, some people are just like, oh, I love making, daily money on LP providing, which is cool. But like, you could do the same by staking. And, then other people say like, oh, well, I'm earning 40% a day. Well, yeah, you do that for one day, but then it's out of your range. And it's funny what people say, because I'm like, oh, okay, are you rich? No, you're not. You would be if you're making 40% every single day. So that's kind of funny. But
right. But on the other hand, okay, so two schools of thought on this. 100 people who are even smaller guys equal, maybe a shark or something who likes the LP. So when these people understand how this works and they know, wait a minute, I can either dump on the market and make the price go down, or I can be patient just a little bit longer, right? My stake ended. I took a little of that yield. I can be patient a little bit longer and just put these coins above the current price and wait for people to buy into them.
Yeah.
The price goes up.
And you'll get more return on your
whether
sell.
you're a whale or not.
No slippage. Yeah.
For sure.
No,
I'm
I
talking
agree with
about
that.
LP as a strategy for like long-term, making money. That's what you're talking about, is LP as a strategy to exit.
Because you're saying like they can decide where the price is exactly and stuff, as what it sounded like in the gym rat video. Because they just decide where it flows, and so you say money flows where the liquidity is, and so they just cool people into going to a new price range, and then
whales
get fees in there. Sure. So I understand that game, but I'm curious how you want to break it down for this is a better strategy than just long-term holding.
It's not. And I'll say it till the sun comes up. It's not. And especially for small people, like 99% of the people watching this, 99% of the people watching this, it's not. So like the 99% of the people watching this don't have 30 million. They don't have so much more liquidity than the price, right? So how many people told us like, oh, the HEX liquidity is so low, and it's like, dude, you don't have $1 million. You ain't moving the price. Like, most people don't. So for most people, it's not a good strategy.
Well,
But they should do it to learn.
They
because most people
understand,
don't
like,
even
if you
understand.
Scale
go to
out and you want to
info-
sell, it's
Mhm.
better.
But
Yes.
but it more so just for accumulation too. Look,
Yeah.
you can go to
Same thing as limit buying.
info.uniswap.org and you can see, oh, okay, there is a wall here, so I
Mhm.
can buy a whole bunch and not have barely any slippage, and I'm going to get a good deal.
But you could do that without even, like, honestly, you can do that without even looking at the liquidity, right? If you type in an amount, you'll see what the slippage is. So
True.
like,
Well,
you
what
know
you
I'm
don't see is the risk. If there's thin liquidity
Right,
underneath
behind
where you're about to buy,
yes,
there is some risk
that is
there.
that is true. But you can do the
Right.
same thing from Uniswap with sell, because you can just hit the arrow button and see the other way. So you can see if there's like, when I buy $1 million, it pushes the price up 1%. If I sell $1 million, it goes down 5%. So again,
Right.
you don't need to actually, if you really understand this stuff, and that's why I always say, hey, mess around with it. But what I'm telling people is that you're going to outperform 99% of the time by holding, staking, supplying, stuff like that. But again, like you're saying,
I
if you want
agree
to
with
enter
that.
or exit a position, it is good. Similar to limit orders, it's a good thing. Yeah.
I love what you said, Jesse, on the show. It might have been with Jim Rat, where you're like, if everyone entered the market through limit orders, we'd only see up and to the right and stuff. But you need someone to do the market buying.
It is possible. Like if you couldn't get like an existing coin like HEX, it would just be impossible to convince everybody to do that. But
Right.
you could do it on a test net for fun and literally make it so, hey guys, if you want to sell, just put a limit order above the current price instead of dumping.
That would be a good suggested feature of PulseX to get people to get used to setting limit orders. The price chart would look even better if people were like okay with being patient a little bit.
It would literally never go down. It would only go up. Isn't that insane? So it is.
No, that'd be a nice feature. I honestly would like that implemented.
Mathematically possible.
The reason why there's so much opportunity in crypto, though, is the volatility. So like people dumping and getting out of their position into low liquidity provides opportunity, right? Like if the price dips to 1 cent, there's so many people here that could increase their percentage of the staking pool and stuff like that. So like, I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I think you should be well informed, and there's a time to sell, to market sell. There's a time to market buy. There's a time, there's times for all of these things. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that like providing liquidity or limit buys or limit sells are always the best. It's not necessarily true. So it's just a
here's
range.
something. I don't know if anyone's ever said it this way for low liquidity or stuff that goes down 95%. The reason the stuff has to go down so far to shake hands out of the system is because it goes up so much higher. So if we go up 10,000x, but we only drop 50%, no one's going to be selling. No one
know why that happens?
50% off. We need to go down 95 or more for anybody to consider selling, because we went up so high that most people other than the last year are way up still.
So
you're only going to get the newer guys.
A lot. You want to know why that happens? Why it always goes up higher than before?
It keeps reblowing up during the bubble?
During these bear markets, you shake out a bunch of people. All right, cool. The price has to go down. You have to have a reset of some sort. But that whole time, you have new users, new people learning about crypto who are waiting when it feels right for them to buy. But you still have at least the majority of the people who were shaken out that are still addicted to crypto, still hooked, and they're just going to hook themselves right back in for the next bull run. People usually leave crypto, or even say they're going to leave crypto. They're dumping. They're like, oh, this sucks. It's a bear market. But those same people come right back again. So you just have literally just more volume the next bull cycle.
I mean, it is a strategy like that some people do.
That's adoption.
When the bear market is confirmed, they sell. And when the bull market is confirmed, they buy back. So like there's people that don't care about selling the high or selling the low. They just get in the trend. When the trend is back up, then they buy back in. When the trend reverses to the downside, they get out. And you obviously don't get the highs and the lows, but you can. That is a way to do it with minimal stress. So,
right. I wonder how many people are going to take Richard Hart's top call seriously in the next cycle.
Well,
are we just going to see market dumpage like crazy?
Here's the funny
like,
thing.
all right.
If you did that, you got wrecked because the HEX price wasn't that good. It went up we peaked in September 19th.
Oh yeah, we like
So
kept
you missed
running
out
like
most-
30x.
Yeah, so you missed out most of the gains, and that's the thing. Alts always run after Bitcoin. So he calls the top. It only really benefits you if you have Bitcoin. Other than it tells you that the timer is ticking, the alts are going to pump soon, and it's about to be the end. But that other than that, it doesn't help you.
Yeah, but nobody wanted to hear it when he first started saying it. That he was like, "Yeah, that's the top. I'm gonna keep saying it." That was pretty brave at the time. If you remember how frothy everyone still was, they're like, "We're going to $1. We're going to whatever." You know, people had all these predictions.
Remember Gunther saying we're going? What did he say? We're going
$29, I believe.
$29 by Christmas or something.
29. I mean,
There was
you
more
could
than
say the
one
same
of
thing
those.
about people who
There
dreamed
were
of
a
the
few.
penny.
Yeah.
People dreamed of the penny ever happening, and then we did 50 plus times that, and so it's like maybe we will be more ridiculous.
By the way, you can look at Uniswap V3 and click volume, and you can see the big giant wicks in the volume. And then when you hover over and it tells you the date, you're like, oh, wait a minute. That's when PulseChain SAC was announced. Oh, wait a minute. That's when May was coming along and we thought PulseChain was going to launch. And you can literally correlate all these big spikes in volume for HEX to some sort of a big announcement that happened.
Makes sense.
That's crypto.
Yeah. It's so liquid that news will move fast through the markets.
That's any crypto, though. Crypto loves hype. Yeah. Crypto loves events.
Yeah. So what does that say? So that means Richard's really not announcing a lot on PulseChain, but you better be paying attention because something may pump really hard next time he announces something. I don't know. Just a thought.
True.
It's true.
Something, Jesse?
HEX. Of course, people are going to be like, oh, he's back. He's giving us an update. You need to go buy HEX now.
It tried twice before.
Some people will be laughing at that, saying, you weren't buying HEX like the last 6 months? Why you wait till right today when he announces to do that?
Wait, so Jesse, you don't think PulseX buy and burn is going to do well for the price?
Look, I think
boy.
PancakeSwap did amazing. I think PulseX is going to do amazing. It's going to have a ton of volume. Just like I can't wrap my head around. Look, I know there's a constant buy. It is a constant buy that's being raped from all the other people.
Yeah, it's vampiring everything.
I get that.
Just think about it like this. Imagine that it was private, okay, and you owned PulseX, okay, and then you had that fee like sending you it was going to USDC and going straight to your bank account, okay? So it's almost like the same thing as like a stock buyback, right? So if you think about it like a company, it's like a stock buyback. They're selling some stuff and then going back to the people that own it. You know, of course, don't think about it like that because that sounds like a security, but you know.
And it was a decentralized version.
Yeah, it's a decentralized version.
Good.
Basically.
I
Yeah,
hope they can implement it all the
I
buy
think
and
it'll
burn
be-
into V3 as well. Would be awesome.
I think it'll be price positive, and not only that, like crypto loves narratives. Okay, so one of the things that people didn't like about HEX is like they didn't like the inflation numbers, right? They think that is like Ponzi-nomics or whatever, whereas like deflation kind of everybody gets. EIP 1559 showed that that's like very price positive, you know, over a bull market. So I think this only adds to that. You know, like PulseChain has the EIP 1559. PulseX is basically that plus a little bit more buy pressure. So I think it'll be good. And again, I said it. I'm like, I don't know. Pulse could outperform it, even if the buy and burn is superior from a token economics side. Markets can do crazy things. So
it will pump. But
oh yeah, it's gonna pump.
Jesse!
It's gonna pump.
Why?
Oh boy.
I mean, I was really curious. Like I was worried about the buy and burn being like front ran and stuff, but then once they implemented this manual buy and burn that's constantly happening, I don't think people are going to be able to jump in front of a huge order that causes lots of slippage and stuff. So
it's still going to be front run. So what you know how these MEV bots work?
Mm-hmm.
You mean where they jump in front of the transactions and reorder them? So,
okay,
yeah.
While it's in the mempool or however that works, it just reads what's about to happen and it just front runs it with a higher gas fee. And on a cheap blockchain that has like barely any fees, fractions of a penny. MEV bots are way worse, right? So there's still front running stuff. So if those buys with the buy and burn are enormous, well,
No, they
I would
shouldn't
hope
be.
it's spread out. I would hope it's
Yeah,
like
that's the beauty of it. They spread it out and semi-automated it. If it was gonna be like, oh, some guy's gonna do it with a big order after the whole day each day, that would have been not ideal. But they found a very nice solution.
I mean, people are hitting that buy and burn for like 50 cents right now, like on testnet. I'm sure there's going to be people, in third world countries that are like, man, this could be a full-time job for me. So
you click a button, you make some sense. Easy peasy.
Well, there's all the people that sit in Telegram all day long. They're going to be the same people pressing the button.
Yep,
that's good.
Literally,
it's basically automatic.
Yep.
There's going to be like a Telegram.
It's good. It's good for Pulse too, already. Right? More transactions.
And it could be like, as long as the contract's verified on the chain, you could just build a bot around it too that just like constantly.
It can only be called by an EOA account, so like you can't have a contract call it, but they can you can have stuff that's watching other stuff that's also a bot that you could still do it, but it'd be more work, I think. Like you could have things searching the mempool and the transactions, and you can see like, oh, it got called, and there's still time, even though it's only 3 seconds. Like these computers got to be moving fast, but it's possible, I think.
So it can't be called by a separate contract.
No.
Okay. Somebody in the community will build a mechanical finger.
I know.
Yeah, you could do that. Something. You could do that because that's just a UI thing, right? Like that's a front end thing. So you theoretically could do that.
Right.
But you guys heard it. He said it would pump, guys.
Hey, that's all I care about.
Are we going to leave it there? Are you going to stir some more there, K4K?
No, I was just I'm actually curious what he thinks about.
You have to have the other side.
That V3 LPing is interesting, and I want to learn more about it too. So I'm glad that he's doing more deep dive research into it.
And there's different ways to LP, right? So I explained how we're going to do it with the Watt token, but then V2 is completely different than V3 and the functionality of how you do it. And like there's other ways, like Bancor has a completely different method on how to LP. There's so many ways to do it, and they all have their advantages. And arbitrage, look, even though the fixer
Banker has some issues though.
Even though the fixer bot is like ripping all those tokens over to put them into PulseX, like there's still value in people buying, or founders of those protocols, or whoever is like had those before the fixer bot bought them from them. I think you're going to see some of those wallet addresses purchase those tokens back because they're like, wait a minute, no, I want my LP back. And you'll see some of that migrate back to those other pools again. And that's healthy too, because then you have arbitrage. And if you have big wicks on one thing, it can be, everything balances out. Arbitrage is healthy for less manipulation. Protocols like Aave or Fiat or Liquid Loans that are looking at prices. You don't want all your feeds coming from one single DEX. The more spread out things are, sometimes certain protocols need that. You don't want everything centrally located on PulseX. Now, maybe the majority of it, cool, but you need to have it on exchanges. You need to have stuff on Uniswap.
Yeah, that would show more adoption for Pulse if people are using contracts that were literally just copied over, and people are just using Uniswap v3. That's user adoption. So they're still using the Pulse chain, and they're like, wow, it's so much cheaper over here to make these positions and move my stuff around. So I think it's good for overall adoption any way you look at it.
Mm-hmm. And slippage will be way higher on Uniswap v3 from PulseX. So
because there's less people using it?
Because there's less coins in there because the fixer bot got them out. Right. So when there is transacting occurring on HEX or something, and somebody does a buy and it moves the price 10%, and then you're like, oh, look, HEX is like super cheap over here, but it's 10% more expensive over on Uniswap v3. There's ARB opportunities all over the place. Now, usually bots take care of all that, but it takes these devs time to build all these bots too. We're talking
True.
about thousands and thousands of coins on the chain.
Yeah, there's
Yep.
money out there to be got. It's just only a few can actually craft these bots that. But the thing is, like, there's got to be already multi-million-dollar huge firms just building these types of bots because it's basically free money for the taking. It's like, oh, these people are willing to take all this slippage. Why don't we just get some of that? I'm gonna get
Did
some
you
of that.
watch Liquid Loans did a video with Teller yesterday? Teller,
I didn't see it.
it's really worth watching. It helps people understand first off, what oracles are for, how they've made a completely decentralized node-based, almost like a validator. There's slashing and stuff, all the same things that we have for validation. But he actually talks about bots, and how, like, you can launch a protocol and usually it's like within minutes or 30 minutes or something, there's a bot already that's attacking your protocol. Like, how did that happen?
Right.
So yeah, those guys are fast sometimes with the bots.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people trying to plan out ways to game the PulseChain launch through are completely silent figures in either the community or outside the community. Because, you know, if there's money to be made, people will make it, you know, if they can remain anonymous as well. Like, if you're just able to interact with some contracts and stuff and try to pull some stuff, there's probably people attempting all types of, you know, the bots that can extract value in those ways. Because, like you said, it's like, no, someone's going to build it, and there is inefficiencies there. Someone's going to get it. So you can either learn how to LP and extract as much as you can, or someone else will get that value, basically.
You want to know how to make some money for almost free using Teller? So
Almost free?
Almost free. So you'll have to read their documents and watch their video from Liquid Loans. But the way I understand it, you can run a node on a regular laptop. You don't need a fancy setup. You don't need like Amazon Web Services. You can just like open your laptop, run some software, and be scraping prices of various things, whether it's Pulse or Hex on some exchanges or whatever. And you have to put up a stake of tokens. So you have to initially, you have to buy 1,000 TRB, I think it is, or maybe it's 100 TRB tokens. If you notice, Richard's bridge has TRB on it. There's only like 5 other tokens in the bridge.
At Pulse Ramp?
Yeah, Pulse Ramp. So there's USDC, USDT, HEX, PulseX, ETH. Did I say Pulse? And then TRB. Why is TRB there? I wonder why. Well, because it's going to be bridged into PulseChain. You can buy that. You can put that in as.
So you're saying right now we're going to have oracles on PulseChain at launch?
Yeah, they've already partnered with Liquid Loans. Like, that's
cool.
old news. That's old news.
Old news. Well, it's not Link, but TRB, I guess. So what do you compare those two? Are they similar?
Teller's a little more decentralized. There's no governance, and the team doesn't have like the giant pool, the reward pool of tokens. They don't have control or like custody of that. It's all like everything's smart contracted.
Does the founder sell coins like every week or whatever, like like the Chainlink guy does? Sergey.
I probably not. Right?
Probably not. I mean, you'd hope that, right? But you'd be surprised.
I have no idea. Look, he's a super smart guy. He's real young. You have to watch the video, and you'll be like, "Oh, let me."
No, I will watch it. Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is like you can buy 100 TRB tokens and put them up as like maybe it's 1,000. I forget 100 or 1,000, and you put them in as a stake, okay? And then with the software, you just start pulling price feeds. Now, other protocols may wish to retrieve those price feeds. So maybe somebody wants, the price of Pulse that's aggregated from like 10 different exchanges or something, okay? Such as like Liquid Loans. And they're going to be paying for that data, and you're going to be collecting TRB tokens as payments for that. So, but you have a stake, and if you lie and if you somehow figure out how to manipulate and feed bad price data, you will get slashed and you will get punished and money will be taken away from you that you had to put up as stake. So it's just
That was
like
the problem that
validator.
Richard had with Chainlink, because he said that they had guys who people think that you get slashed, but you don't. And
Yeah.
they've had bad price feeds, guys who just
Correct.
keep doing price feeds, and you're
TRB,
like, so
Teller,
it's just security. I don't
No,
know.
Teller,
It's just
you absolutely get slashed. Absolutely. You put up the stake. You put up the money ahead of time, and it's in there as a stake. You will lose that. And all the other, and it happens really, really fast. But all
it seems
the other,
risky too, because what if your client just goes bad, or your computer turns off and gives bad data, or some
know if you
issue?
get
You can
slashed
just be
for-
losing money, not gaining. It doesn't seem that great.
why? I don't know that you get slashed if you just like shut your computer off. I think you may earn stuff while it's on and you're feeding data, but you just turn it off.
No, I'm just saying, like, anything can go wrong with your feed that you're presenting could be sent wrong, and you just get slashed,
Correct.
and you're like, wow, would have been
No,
better
hold
off
on.
doing nothing.
Hold on. All the other nodes, there's a process where they can contest inaccurate data. Okay, and it's very, very fast. I think it's all through probably if your thing is reporting like a price and it's like 5% different than another node, that node perhaps will just instantly trigger like a wait, I can test this. And then there's a verification process that happens through all the nodes, and it can just kick your data out of the system and slash you. So I don't know how all that works, but there is like
you can go like infinitely down all this stuff for like how complicated this stuff gets, and it really does come down to like what thing did you buy, and did other people buy it too? Is kind of funny.
But it works.
Like if you heard Dev Kyle talk, it was like, dude, there's so much more that goes into deciding all of this intricate stuff. And a lot of us are like, we look at the chart and we're like, this is doing pretty good, way better than this other stuff. It's secure. That's basically what most people need to know about too.
Mm-hmm.
But it is interesting. Like if you think oracles are cool, I'll definitely look into more Teller stuff.
Well, they're necessary. I wouldn't say they are cool because it's just like the validators that reach a consensus for the chain data. It's just these are validators, so to speak, that are reaching a consensus for price data. That's the only difference. They still have their slashing mechanisms. They still have a consensus model. They all have to agree. People nodes can contest stuff and kick out inaccurate data. The nodes can be widespread. There could be, thousands of people running nodes, and the more widespread it is, the more safe it is.
Like, what if you were to say there's something you could put money into that doesn't require oracles and does really well, or this other thing that requires oracles and does really well? One just has extra risk on top, is how I see it.
No. The risk is not having oracles.
Not having oracles?
Yep. So let me give you an example. Liquid loans, for example, or any lending platform, or
those type of things, they need oracles. If you have only one, it's bad. But
here's why.
I'm not comparing those. I'm talking about like HEX to something that has an oracle that you'd invest in.
Well, we can all easily say, well, let's just buy HEX instead of having a blockchain.
I'm saying like there's a lot of this other stuff that's being built. It's like, I just hope people don't get wrecked on it, because I've seen oracle things go bad. HEX no bad.
You got to watch the video. Oracles anybody can run an oracle. You can make your own oracle right now and say, hey, the price of that bread is $500 today. And it's like, okay, that doesn't make sense. But in recent years, with things like Teller, we have like a consensus-based mechanism now where that price can be verified by other people and proven to be, through social consensus, that's accurate. Right? And some protocols need that accuracy, and actually keeps those protocols running smoothly and prevents people from getting wrecked. So when you are reliant on the price of Pulse, and the only place, let's say you had, liquid loans, and the only price feed that you want to pull is the USDC Pulse pair. Okay. And what if sometimes it's thin and sometimes it's thick and sometimes there's a wick, or the liquidity providers decide we don't like USDC anymore. We're going to pull this liquidity and we're going to reapply it into a new pool, or we're going to update to V3, or we're going to update to V4. Okay. And if you have an immutable contract, there is nothing you can do. Your protocol will completely fail because you can't change your code, right? You made.
I think the argument is like whether maybe those things just shouldn't exist or not. People want them right now, but like we've had HEX working great for 1,000 days. No oracles needed. Price appreciation, earn yield. You know, like so getting into like loans and all that stuff. Like I don't understand it super well, but like the way Hedron is shaping up.
Well, here's
why. Be able to borrow exactly how much
you like math, right? You like math. So check it out. It's because people have. First off, you don't have to take a loan. There are other things you can do inside of liquid loans, such as be a stability provider, help ensure the stability of the stablecoin. Okay, there's literally other mechanisms inside of there for you to participate in having a healthy ecosystem for PulseChain. But for those who decide to take a loan, people need to consider this. K4K, let's pretend you love math, right? Let's pretend you have $20,000 worth of Pulse coins, and I have $20,000 worth of Pulse coins. Now, we're not even going to talk about loans, but maybe you go with the narrative of taking profits and shaving profits off occasionally, and I go with the narrative of I'm never going to sell. I'm just going to hold for a long time. Now, we have heard even Richard say, you could have sold on a double, sold on a double, sold on a double. He says that all the time, right? So let's just go with that. Now, we could do the math a number of ways, but let's just go with that. You're going to sell half your bag every time the price manages to finally double. It's going to be volatile, but eventually it'll reach a double. And you're going to sell half your bag. So what do you have? You have 20K on the side now, and you have 20K still in Pulse. And eventually it's going to be volatile. The price is going to double again eventually. But wait a minute. Now you have 40K over here, and you still only have 20K of Pulse. And the price can double 10 times, and you'll feel happy because you have $220,000 worth of value. You managed to extract 200K because you sold half your bag every double, and you feel like you're over 10x up from what you started. So you're content with that. You're happy with that. You're like, and you tell all your buddies you did a 10x. But you were having, at the same time, you were having your coin count every time you did that. So then I say, hey, K4K, you should have held. You shouldn't have sold a single coin because I held 20K, turned into 40, turned into 80, turned into 160, turned into 320. And after 10 doublings, my value is literally $20,480,000 worth of Pulse. And we started with the same amount. Now, here's where it gets challenging, though, right?
Well, yeah, I don't recommend people sell. So
right,
yeah.
but listen, but here's where it gets challenging. If you want to achieve that, you mentally are going to be unable to take profits at some point along that journey to $20 million. It's like physically impossible. You're gonna get to 5 million. You're gonna be like, it was so hard to hold that long. Let me take $1 million out and dump, or sell, or liquidity provider, whatever. It's literally too hard for people. Like, it's super, super rare to find somebody who has Bitcoin that they bought it like a penny. I don't think they exist anymore. Because the mental strength it takes to do that is like, it's just too hard. So you could do what as far as loan. Now here's where loans come in handy. You can absolutely take a portion of your bag, not your whole bag or anything, place it up as collateral, and mint USDL loan against that. Of course, everybody has different tax laws wherever, but last I checked, where I live, a loan is tax-free. So not only are you not, because when you normally sell crypto, if you have a capital gain, you could have as much as 30, like a short term, you could have as much as 36% capital gains tax. So you want to just wipe 36% of your value off the table immediately the moment you sell? No, of course not. So now you have all
I think people
value.
should definitely consult their tax advisor on if that is an actual loan or not, paperwork and whatnot. I don't
Of
know
course.
if that'll fly, but if it does, that is a cool way to extract value.
So then you just mint a loan out, and then you say, okay, cool, I've got this loan, and I still have my original collateral that I can realize any price appreciation on. If it still continues to go up, that still belongs to me. I can withdraw that. I can add to it. I can mint additional USDL. I can pay it back. And if the price goes down, I can pay it back. But there is like a point where you would lose your collateral if those two values almost meet. If the value of what you minted almost meets the value of what you put in, okay, well then it's almost like a swap. You're gonna just lose it. That would be a liquidation. So you have all those choices to put up as much collateral as you want to keep that spread from liquidation as far away as you want to, but that choice is completely up to you. And the reason why oracles are important in such a stablecoin system is because it's reliant on the price of Pulse to know the collateral ratios of everybody who has a loan out. The last thing you want is a whale to say, "Oh wait, look at all these loans over here. I'm just going to withdraw all this liquidity."
I mean, I agree. It makes sense that Liquid Loans has an oracle. I'm not disputing that, but I understand that part. I'm just saying that in comparison to things like if you have the option, because you only have so much finite amount of economic power to put around. So if you're mixing it into the Liquid Loans system and stuff like that,
I get that narrative, but what is HEX paired to right now?
What's that?
What is HEX paired to right now?
It's paired to ETH, USDC,
okay,
mostly.
And on PulseChain, will that USDC be worth anything, or will it head towards zero?
Oh, that USDC is going to zero. Yeah.
And HEX is paired to it, is it not?
It is, but it's going to
some
be
changes have to be made.
It's going to be bought up and moved into. Well, it'll still be moved into there, and that'll still go to zero on PulseX V2. But people will come in with new fiat wrapped in, and then they make a new pair.
Right. So now let's talk through those risks. We have the centralization risk because USDC is owned by Circle. Complete admin keys. They can turn them off at any point. They can lock blacklist wallet addresses. They have so much control over USDC, and they're super heavy regulated. And there's a whole bunch of pressure on these companies, such as Circle, that are producing stablecoins. Okay, so we have that risk. Now we have the risk of the stablecoins residing on the Ethereum chain. And those liquidity pools and any manipulation that might occur on those pools of USDC paired to ETH, or how much is over in the Maker and the DAI protocol, so on and so forth. You've got a whole bunch of mechanics going on with USDC over there. Now we're going to introduce a third risk of the bridge. And whatever admin keys or pool or whatever mechanisms the bridge has, and now we're going to have this wrapped USDC that's stacked all those risks on top of each other, and people are going to be happy with that? No, of course not. So what you want is a native stablecoin.
You're choosing some risk for other risk.
Right.
So, yeah.
So what you want is a native stablecoin that simply uses Pulse as the collateral. And it has proven itself as the most stable coin on the entire chain over on ETH, the most stable price, the one without any admin keys. It's completely immutable. Nobody gives you the coins. You make them yourself. Like, it literally fits all of the core principles of HEX, and it is something that's needed. And by the way, HEX would be good to have HEX paired to something that fits all the narratives that we believe in. So
yeah, I mean, I have noticed that Liquidity, I've seen the charts of how well it holds its peg, and it's interesting that it doesn't get more, I guess, press. Like, almost no one talks about it.
It can't. It's impossible for it to depeg. Literally impossible for more than a couple minutes. So this is okay. So we've never gone on this deep dive with you, but so all stable coins that are worth anything, that are ever going to survive, have to have first off, all the collateral in the system backing them. They have to have a fast, almost instant liquidation mechanism that pays off a loan in the event that a low collateral loan is at risk of being upside down. Okay, because you need all the so you need that, which DAI does not have, by the way. DAI has a 6-hour liquidation process. And there is a real risk if ETH ever fell, like we'll say 50% within a 6-hour window, DAI could collapse and go into a death spiral.
Nice.
So I'm serious.
Oh, no.
I'm serious. The way they try to mitigate that over in the DAI protocol is you have to put up 150% collateral minimum. And that's the liquidation point. So you could put in 200% collateral. Oh, I'm going to put, $5,000 worth of ETH. And if that $5,000 worth of ETH falls to $2,500, I'm still going to lose. Well, you can only mint. Let's say you want $2,000. You're going to have to put, what is that? What's 150%? So is that $3,000 worth of
a fourth,
ETH?
or you're moving a fourth of it, so
right. You have to put in 150% of what you want to mint, and but you would want to put in more. So if the value falls to 150%, you lose 150% of your ETH. It's gone.
Yeah, that's a rip.
And you're like, what the heck?
They got leveraged up and lost everything.
Why did I lose all this money? No. And it's simply because DAI has a 6-hour liquidation process, and they have to run the liquidation with all that extra capital in case the price of ETH keeps falling. Yeah. But there's still the risk that ETH could continue to fall, and then the system goes insolvent, and then the price of DAI ends up going into that spiral thing. Now, the way liquid loans works is infinitely better. You have this thing called a stability pool that anybody can throw USDL into. It's a staking pool. It's just a staking mechanism. You just put USDL in there. That entitles you to any liquidations that might occur for under collateralized vaults, which, by the way, there won't be very many because the system requires, as an average, 150% or greater. It requires the masses to be safely collateralized. It doesn't prevent a degen from coming in and going down at the 110% level. And there's actually reason to do that on occasion, on purpose. Yeah. But let's say a vault gets liquidated. That pulse goes straight to the stability pool, gets spread across all the stability providers, and some of their USDL burns and it pays back the loan. Same process as if like somebody wanted to pay back their loan. They would simply bring back USDL, pay back their loan, and their USDL gets burnt. It's the exact same thing. It's just the stability pool is paying back the loan instead of the individual coming back and paying back the loan.
Let me ask you this. Do you think ETH would have done better if like Liquidity launched with it and people knew about this ability?
I think there'd be a better stablecoin system that's more prevalent than it is now. Right? USDC is completely centralized garbage. Okay, DAI is quasi garbage in my opinion. It's better.
I mean, yeah, we would like a better stablecoin.
Then all of a sudden we had a stablecoin that would have taken hold and been the most dominant stablecoin over on the Ethereum chain. And it has there's actually the peg mechanism is not what I just described, by the way. The peg mechanism is this: every stablecoin has to be redeemable for something. Except Luna, which wasn't redeemable for anything at all. It was literal garbage. But USDC is redeemable for $1 worth of fiat back at Circle or back at Coinbase. You send a USDC, they will give you one single fiat dollar for it. That is the redemption mechanism for USDC. So when the price of USDC falls, because somebody dumped a bunch of it in the ETH pool, and it's like, oh shit, USDC is 95 cents. All right. It's actually a good idea to buy some of that. Go buy it.
Historically.
Right. Yeah. Historically. Now there's risk that they'll just turn off redemptions for a period of time. You'll get an error message on Coinbase saying, sorry, come back later or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's okay. You still got cheap USDC will go back towards $1. And you should have this mechanism where you can swap it back for fiat and get a quick, gain. So that's the arbitrage opportunity with Circle. You have the same with DAI. DAI, you can bring one DAI into the Maker protocol, and then it will give you $1 worth of ETH. So if DAI falls to 80 cents, it's like, oh sweet, let me scoop some of this up, and you're helping bring the price back to $1 because you're about to get $1 worth of ETH.
True.
And Liquidity and liquid loans works exactly the same way. If the price falls, buy some. You're going to get $1 worth of ETH from the protocol, and it takes it from the lowest collateralized vault. That's where it gets that $1 worth of pulse for each one of those. And the reason it does that is because those are the riskiest troves, and it grabs some of that pulse and it raises the collateral health of that guy, gets him further away from liquidation, and raises the health of the entire ecosystem. So it literally, everything that happens, if somebody dumps $1 million USDL and they move the price down, okay, I'm going to come in behind them. I'm going to buy a bunch of that. I'm going to bring the price back to $1, and I can either just hold it for a while, or at some point I can come back and click the redeem button and help the entire ecosystem, and everybody's collateral health goes up a little bit.
These are very cool features. I'll say.
It is perfect. It is literally perfection for a stablecoin. And if
it's been working great on ETHChain, but you guys have changed some things, haven't you?
No, it's on testnet. It's the same exact code. The only difference
I thought you guys had to get audits and stuff.
Yeah, audits will not for testnet. Yes, audits will be available before mainnet, but not before testnet.
Okay, so you are having audits, but it's of code that's already been audited as well?
Correct.
You just haven't changed anything, but you're just showing it's the same code?
The differences in the code.
Hopefully the same stuff gets deployed. Yeah.
Correct, of course. That's for any coin, right? Somebody can show an audit, and then when they press the deploy button.
I've heard some stories about that, some stuff where the devs just freaking wrecked everyone. It was like, wow, that's cold. Right. Like they got everybody with like the audit and everything, and then still scam somehow. But I'm not saying you guys are gonna do that. I'm just saying there's possible risky things happening out there.
Of course. So where was I? So it's on testnet actually, and it's one of the USDL and loan token. That's another thing you don't like that. So that stability pool that's simply there to absorb liquidations. In a perfect world, nobody ever gets liquidated. In a perfect world, nobody chooses to have a risky vault and put themselves down at the 110%.
There's right about that. People who do it though, and then
then also in a perfect world, the price of pulse never goes down. Okay, so if all those stars align, there's never a liquidation. But yes, of course, there will be some from time to time. But that is not your incentive for being in the stability pool with USDL. Your incentive for being in there is you're going to get paid in this thing called loan token. There is a reward pool that gets emitted to the stability providers, and the emission is this thing called the loan token. And it emits at an ever-decreasing halving schedule. So it gets harder and harder to obtain over time. And you take those loan tokens and you stake them for the fees in the protocol. There's zero interest.
Right, it's the origination fees.
Yeah, so there's a loan origination fee, you could call it. Half of a percent. On most occasions, it's a 0.5%. It's not based on a credit report or anything, but it's based on the health of the ecosystem to encourage good behaviors. And if it's that always gets shaved off and it's paid to the stakers. So now what you have is this incentive mechanism to have a good, healthy stability pool that can, if necessary, absorb liquidations.
I think we're putting the audience to sleep.
And those guys are staking for the fees.
No, but I mean, this is a pretty good breakdown for anybody trying to understand liquid loans. So, and people should definitely try this stuff out on testnet. make sure it's as battle tested as possible.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to have the killer stablecoin show up on PulseChain, and people are like, "Wow, that thing's working great."
Yeah.
Having a stablecoin with no counterparty risk is
No
enticing
counterparty.
to everyone in crypto, not just PulseChain people. So I think that could be a good selling point if it does do very well. So
And
very
there's no
excited for
pre-mine.
that.
You can't pre-mine a stablecoin. It's literally immutable code that can never change. And I'm going to be frank here. There's zero reason for Richard to ever launch a stablecoin. None. Because this code exists and because a single stablecoin doesn't come into existence unless it's made with Pulse. Why would
No,
you
it seems
why would
pretty
use
good.
the protocol? It's immutable.
Mhm.
And the fees go to your own community. What's the problem?
I can't wait to see it in action.
Yeah, dude, there's
Well,
so many awesome
play
things
with it
that
on
are
testnet.
helping.
Yeah, well,
ecosystem.
yeah, but I mean, I
Very
play
excited.
with all the things on testnet, but
Have you played with it on testnet?
briefly, yes.
I haven't tried it
Interface
out
is
yet.
great.
No, but I heard you guys. You only
Liquid
recently
Loans,
got it
right?
on
The
testnet,
interface?
right?
Yeah, Liquid
So,
Loans. Yep.
Yeah,
the front end and everything. So that's something to check out. And your teller video. I mean, I want to like oracles more, I guess. We'll see.
They're necessary.
Hey, I can't stay on too much longer. I got knocks at the door and whatnot. So
knocks at the door. All right.
But yeah, dude, thanks so much for having us on. I really appreciate talking to you, Jesse. I like your controversial takes. I think you try to get people to see a different point of view of the possibilities of certain things, and I think that's super valuable. We can't have everybody just talking about the same exact things all the time. And bringing up because new stuff does get developed in this crypto world, and if you don't update your worldview, you can get left behind. It's just you don't want to jump on every new shiny thing, is how I see it. And there's a lot to take in. Like, if you ever try to talk to somebody who's really not into crypto about, you start one topic like, oh, a DEX, well, that's a decentralized exchange. Well, you see these people pull these tokens and can trade in and out. It's actually more secure because you get finalization and you trade right away. And it's like, there's so many things to get into. People are, that's why I'm focused on just getting new people into crypto in general, versus like the deep dive stuff is super fun. But really, we need more adoption. Whatever brings that, I'm all for.
And
the
like,
most
yes, men.
decentralized method possible.
And yes, men too. It's like, I think every community needs people like Jesse to question, to produce alternative points of view, and and have experience with a variety of different chains, coins. It's, to me, it produces just absolutely great thought-provoking discussion, and it's discussion that's needed. Especially if you want to protect yourself or consider various alternatives. It's just really great chat. So
we all want kind of what's best for everyone. I think everyone just has different ideas about what is best or what they feel comfortable
that's what
sharing,
makes a market, though, right?
And stuff. So it's really, the market kind of feels out, and you see that in the price chart and stuff like that is what I see. Like, that's kind of, it might think it's manipulated, I guess, but when stuff's working flawlessly, I don't see the reason to pivot too much, so that's my take on this stuff.
Well, if that stable coin works flawlessly, that would be just
right,
beautifully huge. So
that would be amazing. I think that's like literally would be an awesome draw to PulseChain. If even though they already have liquidity on Ethereum, it doesn't get much press, I guess, or usage.
Their problem was they launched at the top of ETH. Like, why?
Yeah.
Ooh, ETH is like $4,000. Let's launch now. It's like, that was a horrible thing.
That's the importance of like us also having this delayed launch for PulseChain. It's like, oh, we could have launched when ETH was 5,000, and then it's down hard. Good luck fighting against the macro environment. Like, almost nothing survives that. So
right. They had VCs who realized it was a top, and they were just. I think Liquidity actually did like a 72x in the first 24 hours or something stupid, and then all those VCs just dumped all their bags. It was just like dump.
Oh, the crypto lark was in on that one.
Oh boy!
He's got my bag. Time to tweet it out and sell on my followers. catch you guys in the next video is what that guy does, I guess.
Now, interestingly,
That's
though,
crazy.
it still functions perfectly, and the token was still staked for the fees, which people made lots and lots and are continuing to make lots and lots of fees from. So while the price did something really weird because ETH was at the top and there were VCs and there's lots of competition, the people who had those things staked still made tons of money.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see some, if there was like diagrams or a table showing profitability from people who staked for how much amount of time and liquidity and stuff, and you could extrapolate like, oh, if they had more volume or if there was more usage, then these are the numbers we could see, and that'd be very intriguing, at least to me, to see the potential.
Right. So in Liquidity, you had obviously VCs who sold the price down. So what's the risk with liquid loans? It's just
Good question.
Heavy sackers, right? And
Nope.
What is it? Tell me.
Look, we don't let anything slip by this brain.
Oh, look at how excited you made him. No, he's gonna tell us. Go ahead, Jesse.
So, the sackers had a choice of a lockup period between 0 and 24 months.
Okay. Yep. All right. Yep. And many
completely spread out, with the majority of it being out to 24 months, including Godwill.
Yep. Well, it's been a minute since 8 months since I even looked at liquid loans, but yes, that is it. There you go. And Godwill's in.
Yeah, Godwill's cool.
He can't dilute anybody. He can't touch his.
And they did that.
And was he a 24
extra bonus, right? Like they got more
every
supply.
bit of that 6 mil out to 24 months.
24. Okay.
Yep.
What a beast, dude! That's a long time horizon. I love that stuff. I love the community that we delay so long. Like we are actually planning into the future, and so many people don't do that in crypto. They're thinking about the next trade they're going to do on the computer all day long.
But
that's what traders are doing. They're thinking about the trade today. They're not thinking about, oh, in 15 years I'll start to hold it. Like they're letting the coins and gains slip through their hands so early. So I love getting people into stuff where they can actually keep living their life and they can actually afford more things in the future. It's like real savings is what crypto is to me.
And 2 years might get a lot of those committed people right into, just a glorious bull market, once we're out on the other side, excited. Depending upon when things launch, because obviously
Pulse went up. Well, here's probably what he was thinking. Well, Pulse is probably going to be a lot more expensive. The loans are going to be way bigger. The fees, because of that, are going to be way, way bigger 2 years out from now than they will be at the beginning. And there's a healthy bonus here if I lock up. So, like, when you run the math, in my opinion, it all has to play out. But I do think the people who locked up are going to be much happier about that decision than the people who did not.
Man, I'm so excited. There's so many things we're waiting to see play out that haven't happened before. I'm very excited.
Toby one says, what do we think about Wait's stablecoin? Fiat off and on
stablecoin?
Wait, Coast guys. And I don't know a whole lot about it.
Yeah, I don't know enough to.
If I had to guess, though, it's probably similar to True USD, which I actually think is pretty cool. But it is a quasi-centralized thing because you do have this connection with a banking entity that has to be there. But go talk to those guys. Like they supposedly have a fiat direct on-ramp stablecoin thing, which is probably a lot like True USD, which is a cool stablecoin.
Interesting thought by Franklin. Imagine if RH was just helping people learn delayed gratification by not releasing PulseChain. Yeah. I think we're schooled well enough, and those who will do what they may with their coins and dump at launch will, and those who don't will benefit, and that's another lesson in delayed gratification. So to each their own, I think. So. All right, gents, are we wrapping?
Awesome show. Yeah, I mean, I'm good to wrap up. I got to use.
We want to keep going, K4K. You want to bring up another?
No, I love having these discussions. I have some other things I'd like to talk about, but I'll have to save them for another time.
Yeah. Well, you have awesome videos by yourself on your channel, and I love the idea of Jesse, maybe doing a couple of just him, with the actual screens and interfaces, kind of like live with him talking, as opposed to maybe some things get lost in a live stream. I mean, I love all of our content creators and interviews, but at the same time, there is something for that kind of one-on-one
I know for
feel
me,
that you do,
Yeah.
DFED does, Coffee does. It's pretty much invaluable, I think. So.
Yeah. Whenever I want to synthesize something, it's not usually in a live debate or talk about something where I'm like, oh, now I fully understand it the best. Usually it's I'm in research mode, I'm reading the docs, I'm extrapolating the ideas into other
That's your
ways
sole
of thinking
focus.
and trying to figure out grander picture type stuff. That usually happens behind the scenes, and then I come in with the details or my understanding later. So that's why I'm interested to see some more stuff on UniV3, because that stuff is powerful, being able to select exactly your range. So
somebody needs to make a K4K meme where it's like the caveman guy evolving into like the human as we know it, but with K4K's face on it.
the whole way.
Get to work, community. Get to work.
No memeability. Yeah, thanks
especially
for
with the beard now.
Oh yeah.
Go,
Until PulseChain launches, it's going to keep growing. I haven't shaved at all on the beard or the neck for that matter.
So we could
all
start with fresh face and then gradual neck and goatee, and it comes.
Yeah.
In,
so yeah. I'm probably going to shave it all on stream, like probably the first day of PulseChain launch or something like that, just for fun. Hopefully, doesn't make me look too homeless by that time.
It's okay though, because we have a lot of Mexicans who used to be homeless.
That's true. That's super impressive. There's so many impressive stories. I love Tap, what he's doing. Like, he's working at McDonald's, spending the money on HEX at the dip, and he's like capturing all of that, and that's going to be an awesome story later. Of like, yo guys, we have no excuse. I worked at McDonald's. He's documenting all of it, and I think that's going to be a great come up story of like, nobody has an excuse to not make huge returns in crypto anymore. And I love that he's doing that. That's pretty cool.
What if somebody had said at the beginning of PulseChain SAC, I'm not shaving until this thing launches?
Wait, well, I missed
it was a competition. The guy with the longest beard wins.
Dude, I will not have the longest beard. This is the longest.
Peter would win, right?
Peter would probably.
Oh yeah, Peter. Or if Aubrey DeGray's a Hexagon, we're all wrecked.
He got a head start. He would have to
start. Yeah. I would never bet on my facial hair growth. I'm Patchy the pirate.
What if somebody bridges to the testnet? What if a impatient dev out there thinks he's funny and he just bridges to the ETH chain and then pairs T-Pulse?
What, you mean like pre-launch PulseChain? I don't know if they have enough. Is there enough code that someone could launch like a crappy unfinished PulseChain because they don't have all the code?
Well, it is it is possible. ETH chain and the bridge, like
that'd be so trolling.
It's a chain ID. It's
everyone would consider it an extra testnet. Well, man, if there was validators, they'd have to have so much set up. But like, yeah, that'd be. I don't know if that'd be good, or to even promote or talk about that.
So if this happens, we're blaming Jesse at
if you wake up tomorrow
Eastern.
and Pulse is paired to real ETH over, it's like, wait a minute, we have a price. What's going on here?
No, that would be. I hope we don't do that. That would just be silly. Because like there's all these other ETH forks that are happening and people are splitting their attention and stuff. Maybe it's fine. I think it's cool that we popped up on all those other sites for prices on all those feeds. So people going to any of the dexes are like, Hex, #1 on all of them? Like, what is that? I think that's pretty sweet that Hexicans are the ones who are the most prepared for an ETH fork and using real DeFi and using dexes. We weren't super limited by, so a lot of people got ETHW through centralized exchanges and stuff. So the metaverse, we've entered the metaverse. Yeah. I'm okay. We can end the stream. I do have other things to do, but
all right.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a lot
K4K,
of
I know
fun.
you wanted to
Long.
leave, so I was just going to ask your take on Hex on ETHW before we go, but that's okay. We can do
I'll
that.
just save it. I mean, I would rather we focus
Can you
more
give
on
us a
PulseChain.
clue?
What's up?
Are you just give us a clue? Positive, or you think it's a negative?
It's like time frame matters so much too. It's like, we don't, you always make bets with the future about what it's going to be like. And so you can't really be 100% certain about anything. And I just think the most certainty goes with the PulseChain launch and that
We're
HEX
not talking
version.
about PulseChain.
You're
We're
sounding
talking
like
about
Kamala
E-
Harris right now.
We're not comparing it to PulseChain.
Like words
But
in
it is,
order.
everything's a comparison. It's like, oh, did this do
Okay.
well? Well, did everything else do the exact same? Then it didn't really do well. It's just the same.
Okay, but
So
do
you have
think
to
it's cool that
know
people have a
what
free
everything
copy
else
of
is
their
going to
stuff?
do before you can say something is like good or bad, because it's always a comparison.
Okay, PulseChain doesn't exist yet, so
I-
you can't.
but-
You can compare it to testnet.
But you could also say the same thing about like before Hex launched. You're like, hey, come buy this coin. It's out already. And you're like,
But you don't have to buy. You have a free copy over on those two new chains.
Oh, well, here's another way I see it is like if everybody else wants to buy up the value of something I got for free and give me a free 2x on every chain that happens, go ahead. Take all the risk and I'll take none and get a 2x. Sounds good to me.
Fair.
Or you can go and be the guy taking the risk and you may get it at a discount and it may appreciate a lot because a lot of people are finding out how to get access to it over time after you. And so you can ride the pump and maybe you get more return. I think those are the two options. I like the no risk, no effort option.
Everybody
I'm
likes
fine
free
with that.
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go
If
and
Big
get
K
stuff
were
on
here,
those
he'd
other
say
chains.
free
I would
coins.
like for on PulseChain launch. I think getting new fiat in and getting that hex is probably better than getting it on those other chains. But I could be wrong about those other chains, and they might reach parity, and getting those would be fine too. But more
I think
faith in
parity is going to be
another
hard, but I
option.
do think. Look, if ETH Classic has nothing on it and it's $100 with the same supply as regular ETH, it's like, well, look, these chains are offering grants for people to build. There are people doing things over there, and there's more and more miners every day, and there is a whole bunch of people who just want to run it because they believe the consensus model is safer than proof of stake. Whether that's true or not, that's up for debate. But I literally don't think the chains are going anywhere. So as long as the native coin has value, because it's paired to Hex, Hex will always have value.
I think
Yep.
Dub can hang around.
And
because
people
of
can
that.
buy up the price of the stuff I got for free. That's great.
They have all
that's
their equipment.
fine.
Why not use it? And yeah,
It's just like, are we going to be talking about 10 different chains that Hex is on in like 5 years?
We will. It's going to happen. It's inevitable.
But I think there's going to be some domination hierarchy of like,
has to be.
These other ones are the premier versions of it. Obviously, you get these other derivatives because every blockchain, you can't like turn them off and be like, no, those don't exist. They do exist.
Mm-hmm.
But are they growing communities like at the rate these other ones are? So it's probably less likely to continue to pump as much as one that has a larger community or more onboarding percentage wise. And so I don't know. I just think it's
low liquidity.
It's not necessary.
Makes the price pump the hardest. You know what has the lowest liquidity across the three chains?
Yeah, it could bump the hardest.
Ethereum right now has the lowest liquidity, and the price moves the hardest when somebody does a little buy and it goes up like 20%. It's like, oh my god! So it's all the same narratives we've heard from Richard from the beginning. The only question is, will the chain actually thrive and have more and more adoption over time? Like a year from now, all the people who are ignoring it,
PulseChain than these other ones. That's my only.
I agree with
about
that.
it.
I agree 100%. We're all waiting for that, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't at least learn. Look, if you don't want to touch your coins, cool. If they're staked, let them bleed out after your staking time. I'm sure the people over there could care less and would appreciate that. But it does help learning about what those other chains are, why they even exist. Come to a reasonable conclusion if what you want to do with your copies over there.
Yeah. My poor door knocker is waiting.
Is it a 4-legged
All
door
right.
knocker? All right.
This was fun. See y'all.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jesse. People in the chat were asking, you said your Twitter handle. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Power City.
Power City.
Yeah.
So find them on the Power City YouTube. There you go.
Yeah, that's usually what I'm on. Like yesterday, I did a thing with RG3. I don't have a personal one, no.
Okay. And you know where to find K4K. That's there. Thank you to everybody who was here. Also, Randy Hilarski for attendees. Next week's show probably be Wednesday or Thursday, not Friday, because I'm traveling. So take note of that. We'll put it out on the socials and we'll figure that out. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for chat. 200 people, stuck around till the end, and
Awesome.
even more than that for even all that great conversation with just you two guys. And that was just cool to listen to, even as I was eating dinner in the background. So thank you guys for sticking around and chatting. So that was really cool. And we'll see everybody next week.
Bye, everybody.